Can't possibly script something like this.
Live.
Join us on a daily live adventure into the heart of the African wild right here on WildEarth.
Those sounds just go straight through you.
Expert guides search for the captivating animal characters of Africa.
Baby pangolin, guys, is off the charts. This is like now my 4th Christmas in a week. We should do this more often.
You can ask us questions in real time using #WildEarth on Twitter. Join us for 2 live shows every single day, only on WildEarth. This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in Sabi this morning. Welcome to everybody from all the way around the world this morning. This is how we're going to begin our safari here in African Safari. Welcome aboard to your own safari life. And this is all South African rise. As you can see, the sun penetrating through, already gone up above the tree, and that's all you see. It's all the yellow, golden, beautiful of African sunrise, and that means it's going to be us. Welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve. We're in Sabi again, looking at sunrise. Beautiful. My name is Andrew. This morning on camera, that's Mpo. This is how we're going to be taking you to safari live and your own safari. Welcome aboard, everyone. So, the degrees for the day, 66 Fahrenheit, 19 degrees, showing it's quite a bit warm, or it's going to be a bit warm. Got my jacket on in case weather change. We don't trust this kind of a season sometimes where you find the wind picks up, change from what you thought. But this is what is a sign. When you see the sunrise, clearly no sign of a cloud. And it's promised that it's going to be a warmer day. And if I just died quietly, you can hear all of the sound of the birds just for a second. Isn't that great? All of these doves, all of these hoopers as well. These are the signs of the bush. When you're around, you don't know where your temperature is. Of course, birds can able to warn you, can be able to tell you what it means, and of course reading from their information you're able to finally find your own way out, or your thought whether it's going to be cold or whether it's going to be hot. Marianne, indeed, this is really beautiful, especially look at this sun surrounded by this golden, and the reason is that, every time when the sun rises, it looks bigger. Just because of all the pollution dust is, on the ground, on the oceans. We're actually looking at the east, which down there is Mozambique. There's an ocean down there. So all dust is everything. But then the sun goes up. And this is where you're able to experience bright, lighter. And this is when the sun penetrating through to the earth and the hot take place. And then we're going to move on, look for animals this morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Masai Mara of Kenya. We have hyenas happily enjoying their breakfast this morning. My name is Tim, and behind camera we have Big James. It's a very nice, cool weather, about 16 degrees Celsius. Very, very good for animal activity. We have about 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Now these hyenas are enjoying this wildebeest kill. Probably maybe it was made by lions, because I can see most of it has already been eaten. See, some of these hyenas are actually chasing one another and fighting off each other. Now during a meal like this, the high-ranking ones will be the ones that come first, and then the rest will follow. See how that hyena is big. Seems like she's the matriarch. Look at how strong that neck looks. So this other one have to wait until those matriarchs have already eaten, and then they can go and share. So until the high-ranking ones are full, the rest will join. And it's reckoned that a high-ranking hyena can eat up to about 12 kilos of meat at a sitting. And funny thing is that the lowest ranking males will eat up to about 2 kilos, depending on how big the clan is. I once watched a clan of about 21 hyenas who ate a fully grown wildebeest for about 10 minutes, so they can mob and eat as fast as they can. They keep on twisting and turning that carcass to get good pieces of meat there. You can hear them crunching the bones. They have to watch around because of lions that might be around this area. Sometimes they'll mob and chase off lions from their kill. I've seen them doing that to lions, leopard, and even cheetah. Even though hyenas are regarded as scavengers, they will Megan, hyenas will bring down a wildebeest. What they do, they don't kill like as the way cats do. They always bite these animals as they are running, big chunks of meat, and their victims die from shock and loss of blood. So unlike lions who will chase and get to the throat of these animals and then kill them by suffocating, these hyenas will not kill by suffocating. They always eat or bite big chunks of meat, and of course the victims will lose blood, and which will cause them to die. Because of that, they have a strong endurance where they'll chase their prey for about even more than 10 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how fast their prey is. So they're known to have that stamina. They can gallop for about 60 kilometers an hour, and they can keep that pace for about 4 to 5 kilometers. So the young one has joined in after the Michelle, thank you so much for your question. I haven't seen this clan for a while, so I am not quite sure if they have young pups. But by the look of the matriarch, and other females here, I can't see if they're nursing or not, because of evidence how you look. If an animal is nursing by the look of the teeth, I can't see them protruding, so I'll guess they don't have young pups. I can only see some teenagers around them. So let me sit here and wait to see how long it will take for them to devour this carcass as I take you over to another live location.
Tess Tlalamba, we are going to stay on her for a few moments because she's taking us on a bit of a run around. But we found tracks coming straight into camp. Hyenas were making a lot of noise. We scratched around and out she popped. So I almost have a feeling as if the noise that hyenas were making is that they probably stole something from her, because she's a very good hunter. Hello, everybody. My name is Steve, joined by thereon on camera. And as always, very excited to have you with us. Here we have the princess, who has stopped moving for a moment. And don't forget, everybody, we are live and interactive, and if you have any questions or comments, send them through to #WildEarth, or throw them in on the YouTube chat stream or Twitch. We'd love to hear from you this morning. Yes, there we go, Tlalamba. She's busy doing the phlegm and grimace. Someone has been there before. Now, that grimace that you see there is she's basically scented something, normally in the form of urine, and it causes them to do that funny look with the face. They call it the phlegm and grimace, and essentially what they're doing is they're activating an organ in the top of the mouth called the Jacobson organ, which then gives them all sorts of cues. Hello, beautiful. All sorts of chemical cues in the brain with regards to the sexual maturity or status of whoever's urine that is that they're busy smelling. See it in many animals. Hang on 1 second. Standing by.
Yeah, good. I'm right here on Yatela Main axis between Galago Shortcut and Ostrich Road. Please let me know if you hear my mama, and then I'm gonna come and join you.
Copy, Mike. From power lines Yatela access, you can basically from straight into the block north. You'll get us. She's still been moving a bit, but if you remember where the Nkumas and the Evokers were that one day, right here.
Okay, okay, thanks. I'm right here on the power line. I'm gonna try maybe to come a little bit east and see.
Yeah, copied. We're straight in the block. We're probably not far from Aubrey's at the moment, but best approach would be to come from just past power lines for Yatela access and go straight in north on the block.
Lovely, thank you so much.
There we go, look at that. There's the grimace. Someone has been here. Who is it? We don't know. She probably can pick up all sorts of chemical signatures from those chemicals. You see, buffalo do it very commonly. Zebra as well. Lions, leopards. Elephant do it, but you don't see them lift their lips. Oh, hello, Luke. Who's the best hunter? Well, Tundi is an incredible hunter. She's probably one of the most successful cats I've come across. But this young lady here has learned from her mom, and I think with a few more years, Tlalamba's going to be definitely the best hunter around. She has been incredibly successful since I've known her, or since she's sort of come of independence. And she's still young. She's only turning 3 next month. So she's still a youngster. She's still got lots of time, lots of practice. But You hardly ever find her without food. There we go. He's going to claw the tree now as well. All sorts of communication going on now. Oh, yes, girl. Let me try reposition here. I wonder if there's something in there. I didn't see anything. Someone's been in the tree who's very interesting smelling. Two little Kalamba. Tell me when you got it, Theo. It's very common for cheetah to urinate and to defecate in trees, and to climb up into trees and to leave all sorts of smells behind. Someone's obviously had a kill in this tree, and she's trying to figure out what was going on, who was here. She has come of age, everybody, so she is mating ready. It's possible she might be smelling an attractive gentleman who she might be quite interested in pursuing. Okay, well, everybody, we're going to try to stay with Kalamba as long as we possibly can.
Thanks, Steve. Beautiful of finding Kalamba. We're back into this very den this morning again, where we see here it's slightly active with the two of a young one. It's also two of the adults that are moving around in and out of this den. And I believe there was a lot of a call we're doing early this morning western side of the camp there. Thought maybe it could be that this den is not active because they're out, but maybe the other members out there. And they look very cool, relaxed. There's nothing threatening them. I don't think there's anything came in here, because if it's that the case, then you wouldn't see them so relaxed, and you wouldn't see this young one come out running around outside of the den if they were threatened last night. You can see all of the three of them. The dark one just come out, the slightly smaller one in this member here. Remember, everyone, this is your show this morning, and you're welcome to ask questions, kids questions, at WildEarth.tv or otherwise #WildEarth at FC, and this is how we'll be interacting with you and enjoying your safari. Such beautiful, this is our spotted hyena we're looking at. And yesterday when I was here, it was about the same. You know, they were so beautiful running around in and out. And it was a lot cloudy. In this type of a morning, I understand now the sun is up, but it's still very cool temperature for them to be able to do what they need. And of course, for them to be able to move far distances. And some members don't return back to the den here at the same time. And they're all just going to come back different time, and they're able to give their young one a milk. And I give birth to 2 cubs, and after gestation period of 16 weeks. So it's not that long, similar to most lions do the same. A leopard would be the same. So, but they're not cats at all, even though their gestation period is similar to cats, but they're not a cat family. And they're on their own. Kit, welcome to your beautiful show this morning. There's a good question that you asked there. But I I don't know much about this young one, which one is which, where the mother is. I understand they have already told me whether there's names different, but I haven't actually kind of found it unique or seen. I know yesterday when I was here, was one of that young one was drinking one of the mother, and it was another mother this morning that came in here, and I believe there was not even one of theirs or one of the mother here, and then she just vanished off. But yeah, that's a good question. So maybe we'll find an answer if they ever arrive, because it's getting to a time whenever they're around here, they are able to come into this very den. It's very interesting about the wild animals. Learning them, you guys are able to tell which one is which. It's so very interesting to tell us that you're interacting with these animals so much. Well, I'm gonna take you to another live station while we're waiting into this hyena to see what they do for us.
From the hyena then back to our hyena breakfast site, where we can see vultures have started streaming in. They also want a piece of the share, but the hyenas are not happy. They're not going to welcome them. You see them chasing them around. So these are the last ones that have been left at this carcass. You can see they're not willing to share. Like I told you before, the lower ranking ones will be the last to be feeding on the carcass. Now sometimes vultures will stream in a big number, and these hyenas sometimes have no option but to leave, because look at that number. You can see the hooded vulture there, you can see the African white-back vulture. The Ruppel's griffon vultures have also arrived. See them hopping and jumping. So we call this the cleanup squad, because these two species I don't know which clan is this, because we've not yet identified this clan because of our location. If it was close to the escarpment, I will be able to let you know the clan. But some of these hyenas keep on moving or swapping then, so you can find that these hyenas are from a different place, because with the availability of food, they also travel and make new dens or utilize their old den sites. The marabou stock has arrived. So these two species play a very important ecological role, because if you're not for them, we'll be having a lot of problems in terms of diseases, flies, because of the bones and the carcass that will be left unattended. Duke, thank you for your question. These hyenas will always travel from one place to another. They're not really nomadic, but other males from other clans will come and join new clans where they'll be given the rights to mate. So at times they can be, let's say, they migrate from their natal clans into other clans. I can see more vultures coming in, and I tell you, there's more than 25 now. Seems like there's going to be a feeding frenzy after these hyenas leave. I think they've got something there. So the trick they use is to eat as much they can because of the numbers. So at a sitting, it's reckoned that a vulture can fill up their crop for up to less than 2 minutes. You can hear that hyena crunching, they're crushing the bones. Michelle, thank you for your question. When hyenas have young pups, they always take back food to their dens, and if you ever come across a hyena den, you find it filled with bones and some carcass. So they always take food to their den if they have small pups or young ones. That ribcage still has got a lot of flesh, so that hyena is enjoying it, not willing to share. So the vultures are waiting patiently. They know that the hyenas will give up and go after they've already had their share. Their naps at the back of their head look so white and clean, but after these hyenas leave, it will be filled with blood. That one's got a drumstick. He's taking off with one leg. I'm going to sit here and wait to see how these vultures will join in and if the hyenas will leave soon as I take you over to another live location.
Well, today we are starting off with something that cannot evade us. It cannot run away, cannot disappear. It is stuck to the branch. And it kind of resembles like a lemon meringue topping, doesn't it? My name is Taylor McCurdy, and on camera with me today is Sebastian Rombi, and we are here at Pridelands, which are part of Tswalu Game Reserve and the Greater Kruger. But what we were looking at just behind us on that branch of a tree was a frog's nest. Now, I know you've probably had a look at them already. Maybe James has shown you, or Tristan on Bushwalk, or even Steve, because with all the rain that we've had, the southern foam nest frogs have been particularly busy. So apologies if you are hearing this again, but amphibians are one of, well, if not actually my favorite element to being a safari guide. So I take great passion in talking about them. But anyways, so what happens there, it's quite a cool thing. I'm sad we don't have a little foam nose frog sitting nearby that we can show you, but we'll keep an eye out. Essentially, that is the oviducal fluid that the female secretes. So what will happen is that the female will find a perfect nesting spot, typically above a puddle of water or a dam or a river or something like that. And then she'll start to secrete this liquid. And then, of course, the males all come rushing on in. There might be more than one male. And together they start, once the male has clasped the female, they start churning away at that. Look at that beautiful reflection. It's so lovely. Now you can see underneath it too. And that oviducal secretion then, of course, froths up as if you were beating the eggs or the egg whites to make a lemon meringue. And then the female will lay up to about 1,000 eggs. Can you believe that? So many inside that secretion. And with frogs, of course, they have external fertilization. So the male will secrete or deposit, his sperm over the top of the eggs. It might be also more than one male fighting for this. So you could have, 3 or 4 different males, maybe even more than that, depositing their sperm over the eggs. And those eggs will then be inside that sort of frothy substance, and she'll secrete some more of that oviducal fluid, which she'll churn up. Now, that stuff is super, super important because most frogs and toads will lay their eggs in a permanent water source, and we'll start to look around to see if we can't maybe find some frog and toad eggs. But these guys have a different development. So those eggs are developing inside that frothy substance, and it will protect them from the extreme heat. Obviously, at this time of the year, it is nice and hot, luckily for them, so perfect nesting conditions. But after I'd say about a week or so, maybe even just a little bit less than that, those tadpoles will hatch, and then they'll sink to the bottom of that foamy nest, and eventually they'll plop down into the water. So this needs to happen quite quickly, because sometimes these frogs make those nests in or over a puddle that's going to dry out quite quickly. So you can see we're at Buff Pan at the moment, so there's plenty of water there. And then once they drop into the water, then they continue their development. But it's quite risky for them to be down and in the water. There's obviously lots of fish species. There might be other frogs that will eat them, birds, and all sorts of things that will eat those tadpoles. But while they're in that nest, they're quite safe. Unless some of you may remember from a few years ago, probably, if not the most famous leopard now, Hyena, he used to try and eat them. Oh, I'm so sorry. I was talking so loudly I missed the first part of that question. Apologies, if I can just have it again. And then I shall carry on. Do bullfrogs have nests? Okay, I think that's the question. Sorry, I can't hear the beginning parts of that. Bullfrogs, they're quite interesting. Bullfrogs are actually quite involved in the raising of their youngsters. So they will actually guard their eggs. So they don't make a nest like this. They, oh, you're on me, sorry. And me looking around, no. Sebastian's going, Taylor, look at the camera. Sorry, Dizzy. So bullfrogs, they might have, well, they'll mate. It's quite an amazing thing. I'm sad we didn't get to see it, but maybe with the next burst of rain, we'll catch the African bullfrogs. Those are the ones we see here. We don't really see giant bullfrogs. And they'll just lay their eggs pretty much everywhere, all over in the pool of water. But then once they hatch, you could also find that if the puddle is starting to dry up, what they'll do, the adults will dig a little trench to another water source and kind of guide the tadpoles on their way there. There's so many different species, and you get frog species that even carry their tadpoles on their back when they need to move them to another place. Then something like a bushveld rain frog, for example, they don't lay their eggs in water. They don't construct a foamy nest. They kind of just bury their eggs in the ground. So they don't have a tadpole stage. So it's super fascinating once you really start getting into amphibians and all that type of thing. And we've been seeing a lot of frogs and toads around camp. It's just a pity because they normally come out at night time. That's when, of course, they're most active. Obviously, it's nice and cooler because their skin is very, very thin, and they can lose water very easily if they're out in the sunlight all the time. So they need to stay nice. Most of the time, they need to stay moist, especially, of course, the frogs. The toads, a little bit more resistant. But it's very exciting. We'll keep an eye out to see if we can't maybe see a little reed frog or even a little foam nest frog just sitting up on one of these branches.
Thanks, Till. Now, the rest of the young one have gone back in, so this is only the hyena we can see right now, but also looks like it's going to vanish by the way he's doing, probably sniffing up in the air, and could happen that probably pick up some scent or smell from way off. If is that the case, because this is probably was a guard here, was just a watcher, and if that happened, maybe it's gonna make sure the whole young one went back to the den for safety, and it's gonna go probably join the other clan somewhere else. And that's what I think. So the den now will be now active. We're just gonna see if we can get a visual of this single hyena that's moving away right now. And we heard a call this morning. It seems to be actually heading in a direction of where the sound we heard the first thing this morning, just before we get up, take a drive. It's a sound that sounded like it was east and western side of a camp. So where we think could be maybe more of a clan communicating there, or something there is interesting for them to be able to call everyone to join in the area. So I'm gonna work on the area to see if there is a joy or there's more of a hyena in there. Otherwise, it'll be very much interesting to know what is happening there. What was that noise was all about that they were making early this morning. So while we do this, I'm gonna see if we can get a last visual of this one. Otherwise, it's actually walking in through the bush. So just gonna see if we can keep up with it. Or if not, then we're just gonna stick on the road on the other side, see if they come out for us. And hyena, when they started to move, they do serious moves sometimes, as well as at night. Can cover up to 30 kilometers at night if it's possible. And for that's how they operate. And they're all scattered around during the course of a hunt. And whoever come across very interesting thing, and that's how they do. So they communicate so that everybody out there would be able to respond to that communication. Every communication, they have a few differences of a communication, but all of these means all different meaning in them. If there is dangers, of course, it's going to be a warning of they need help. It's going to be a specific call for that. That's where you see all of them running into that site. And then if you go there, you find, they're surrounding on something, trying to kill it, or they're trying to move lines out of its kill. That's how they do. But let's see if we succeed out there. Let me take you to another safari live while we're doing this.
Well, jumbo everyone, a very wonderful, beautiful morning. Here I am with some very beautiful and good news. I have 3 black rhinos, a very rare animal and rarely seen, but I'm very fortunate to come across these. Looks like a mother, a previous calf, and an year-old calf. What a start of the day. I cannot believe this, that I just came across these guys. Looks like mom is trying to get rid of the previous calf. As you can see, that's an interesting behavior. This is the rare black rhino. In Kenya, we have less than 3,000, and the numbers are coming back really, really slowly. To see 3 is what I call a jackpot. This is an animal that really depends on its hearing and smell. Its sight is very, 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 very poor, but the sense of hearing and sight is very acute. They have home ranges that can be as big as 100 square kilometers. They need enough space to be able to breed. That has been one of the main effects affecting them, so that the numbers has gone down. The other one is poaching, illegal trade in the horn. Yeah, those are the 2 main effects, really affecting them. Well, a very good morning, everyone. My name is Isaac, and on camera I have Bungei. We are out here at a place called Majiandege, ready to show you, what we have out here. Already we have found these beautiful 3 black rhinos, and looks like I might stick with them for a little bit, see how far they go. We rarely get to see them, but we do have a good number of them. Close to them I have elands, and it's a nice herd also. This is an antelope that is the largest in Africa, very shy, rarely, you can approach them. And it's a grazer and a browser. They do migrate, but we do have resident ones that are left behind after everybody, goes back to the Serengeti, and they don't really tolerate vehicles. They always go away, and like you can see, they are not comfortable with us at all. Yeah, looks like they're stopping to observe us. Jero, Jumbo, good morning. You ask if we do dehorn rhinos in the Mara. No, we don't. And I think it's a tradition that has died out, because dehorning them doesn't stop poachers from going after them, and actually they become even more threat to the poacher, because a poacher doesn't want to follow a dehorned rhino, because if he come across it, he will try and kill it, so he doesn't follow it next time. So it's a tradition that has died out. We have never tried those measures of dehorning rhinos here in the Mara. The only thing they have is they are notched, and every day they are monitored. All the rangers have to see almost 90% of them. If a rhino that is not seen for a couple of days, it can be serious consequences, and all the rangers will be asked to get to where it was last seen, and they have to look for it. So it is serious business. Even where I am right now, I'm sure somebody is observing me as I talk about them. They're always being tracked. So we don't dehorn, and it's something that should not be done. They need that horn to debug trees, to defend themselves, and also to dig soils for minerals on the ground. It should not be done. They should be let to have it. Remember to talk to us, #WildEarth. Questions and comments are really, really welcome. It's a beautiful morning, a nice setting that I have here. Jennifer, Jumbo, how old are the black rhinos when they start browsing? Quite a very early age, at around 2 to 3 months, they're already starting, to browse. They start very, very early. Jennifer, it looks like they're getting away from us, and I'll have to reposition to try and see them much closer. But that is the view that I have. Here I have the Defasa waterbuck, an antelope that's very common here in the Mara. Looks like a massive male. Look at those horns, fully grown. It's one of our common, bucks that we find here. He's alone, but definitely he's part of a bachelor herd or a breeding herd. I think he's walking casually towards them. Mainly they love water, and they're always very close to a place where there's water. Right, I'm going to try and reposition, go towards that rhino, because I would like to see it once again. It's nice to see 3. It's like a jackpot, like I said. So I'm going to try and reposition. They are solitary animals, and they prefer a lot of peace to themselves. So when a calf reaches a certain age, it will definitely be pushed out so it can learn the tricks and trade of being alone. They only come together when the female is in season, and also when they're breeding. Otherwise, they'll prefer to always be alone. I don't know if you can see them, Bungay, anymore. How far have they gone? Yeah, they're really going fast, out there in plains. Gotta try and get close to them. Well, it's a beautiful setting that I have here. We've had lots of rain last night, and so it's wet everywhere. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to drive past here. rather tricky. Nah, I don't think I want to try, so I'll have to go a long way round. You have a vehicle behind?
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to andBeyond in Ngala on the Sunrise Safari. As you can see here, we have this beautiful male ostrich. Not a common sighting here on Ngala ostriches, although we have actually seen an increase in the last, I don't know, I'd say maybe a month. No, actually, that's a lie. About 3 months, we've seen an increase in the ostrich populations. And this morning you'll be with myself, Sean. We've got the Odison and the camera. And it's turning out to be a very, very nice day here. Sun's out. We think it's going to get very, very hot later. We spent the morning traveling down the eastern boundary looking for anything really. And this is the first thing we found besides spider webs. Quite a relaxed ostrich. It was on our left-hand side and then just slowly walked across here to the right. But we know if you have a look at it, you can see very, very black. So that tells us it's a male. The females are a bit more of a sort of dull grey colour. This one's quite a big looking male. If you have a look at his beak there, you can see that sort of reddy orange colour. Quite a lot of contrast. And his tail's that brown, his wings are the white, black body, and then a pink face. He's out and about here, looking for some food, eating little seeds, put the grass, flowers, what he's picking up off of the ground. So this is a good time. You can see how green it is after the recent rains. There's a lot of new shoots, bulbs, things like that. What the ostrich is looking for. It's a wonderful area as well, fairly open. It would be magnificent if this ostrich decided to run. That would be very, very cool. Never seen one sort of running full tilt. Apparently quite majestic. If any of you guys have seen one, or you know, quite beautiful. But also very alert. I mean, you see him constantly looking around. I'd imagine an ostrich only really has to worry about lions as a main sort of predator. Big bird, it's a very strong bird, very sharp claws. It's got big, big toes, so sharp claws, and a very powerful kick. They're too dangerous for something like a leopard or a pack of dogs or a cheetah. It's like the only lion. But still very alert, all prey species, constantly looking around. A wonderful start to the day. Okay, so we got our first question of the morning from Dr. Girly. Wanted to know, are the neck naked or does it have like little feathers on it? So it's naked. There's no really feathers there. What I can see is look to be little fine hairs. It might actually be small feathers. I'm not sure. I've never been too close to an ostrich. Using my binoculars here, it looked like either very fine hairs or very, very, very small feathers. Reading in my book now, it doesn't specify. It doesn't say, but whatever it is, it would be very, very, very fine. It looks to me to just be little hairs. I think it's little hairs. That would be my final answer. Small little hairs, quite similar to the legs. Probably little hairs just to give the ostrich a bit of a warning if it's sticking its head in like a bush or while it's feeding on the ground. Just to, like your eyelashes. Fairly similar situation. You see where those black feathers start at the bottom of the neck. It doesn't seem to be anything overlapping those black feathers, like there's no white feathers coming down onto it. That also leads me to believe it's just a bit of hair.
Good morning from andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve, where we've got a magnificent scene in front of us. A white rhino mother and calf, and a good-sized herd of wildebeest and zebra, all grazing out here on this lovely fresh green growth. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this morning we've got Gert, and we're going to be exploring some of the open grasslands in the far south of our reserve today. And like I said, have a look at just how green it is out there with those rhinos and those zebra. Now, some of you may remember that this part of the reserve we showed a couple of months ago had a bit of a fire that came through the area, and it looked charred and void of life. But now, after the fantastic rains that we've had a couple of weeks ago, all of this new green growth is sprouting through, and all the grazing animals are taking full advantage of it. Look how many there are here. Rhinos, zebras, wildebeest, and even some warthogs. All here taking advantage of this lovely green grass. All the herbivores taking this time to feed up and build their condition after the dry season that we've just come out of. Minamu, you're asking if rhinos can survive without their horns. Minamu, rhinos tend to use their horns for fighting with each other, and then in the case of mothers with calves, they will use them sometimes they'll use them to defend their calves. So Minamu, obviously here at andBeyond Phinda, we dehorn our rhinos to keep them safe from poachers. And Minamu, yes, they can definitely still survive without their horns. So if all the rhinos don't have horns, then in terms of them fighting with each other, none of them have got an unfair advantage over each other, and so that's fine. And then in terms of defense against predators, in terms of a mother looking after her calf, her physical body size, Minamu, is normally more than enough to deter even a pride of lions from trying to attack her or her calf. So yes, Minamu, they can survive without their horns. It is obviously quite sad that it is something that we have to do, taking the horns off of the rhinos, but it is very necessary, unfortunately, in the present situation that we find ourselves with the rhino horn being so valuable to poachers. Look at that little calf walking in front of mum, busy grazing. See, already at this age, just looking at that calf, looking at the length of its horn and how it's already starting to bend back towards its head a little bit. Every now and then it lifts its head. See if we can get a good look at that little horn that it's starting to grow. And often we can use the length and even the shape of a little rhino's horn to help us age it. And just looking at how that horn is already that front horn, already starting to bend back a little bit towards its head. It looks like it's probably around 2, maybe just before, just coming up to its second birthday, so it's somewhere between 1.5 and 2 years. And already feeding quite busily on grass. Shemaine, you're asking what white rhinos weigh at birth. Shemaine, if I'm not mistaken, it's between about 40 and 60 kilograms. They're quite small little things. I'm sure you've seen over the last couple of months when we've been able to film small little rhino calves. They're very cute, very tiny, and almost a perfect little miniature of their mother, of course, minus the horn growth. But yeah, amazing to think that they're that small at birth, and then they can grow into this 2-ton animal by the time they get to kind of 10 years, or 7 or 10 years, somewhere around there. But look at how all these animals, since we've been here, they've been feeding almost in circles. There's so much food here that they can just focus their feeding attentions on this one little area. And I think from here, Gert and I are going to keep on moving through the plains and go and see what else we can find this morning.
Well, look at this. I've managed to get closer to them. This is an animal that is very sensitive to sound, so I'm going to try to not speak as loud as I normally get excited, because its sense of hearing is very, very acute. This young guy here looks like it's almost a year. Look at how cute he is with that stubby little horn. The black rhino is not really black, but because for many years my fellow South Africans called the white, wide mouth rhino, it was called white, and then for some reason it changed to be white, and this one had to be called black. But there is nothing, that makes it become black. It's just the pronunciation that made this one to be called black. And this is a native of East Africa all the way to Southern Africa. It was once, found there. They weigh about 1,000 to 1,400 kilos, and it's one of the animals with the longest gestation period, about 14 to 16 months. And it is a browser. It's got this hooked lip that it's capable of plucking leaves of bushes, and it's always found in wooded savanna where there's lots of species of shrub and trees. It needs a huge area, to graze, to browse. As you can see, this youngster is picking browse, bushes. That's what it's feeding on. I'm actually quite lucky. We've gotten really close. They're usually very aggressive, unlike their cousins or the other one, the white rhino, that can tolerate noise, and you can get really close. The black rhino, it's almost impossible to get close. It will attack without warning by snouting and coming really fast. You can tell this little guy already, he's been alerted by something. The raising of the tail and the focusing of its ears that move like rudder forwards tells me that already it's agitated. They're usually very active in places where it's quiet, dense bushland, but if there's human activity, they always hide. The one difference that's very evident about the size of the black and white is that the black is much smaller. It is very aggressive. Unlike its cousin, the white, it's not as aggressive, only in situation when it's been cornered. And also, when running, the black rhino runs with its young one in front. Eliza, Jumbo, well, sometimes, it can be for a very long time until another calf is born. Like right now, you could tell the behavior. Already the mom is not tolerating this youngster, and he's already, the older one, I would say it's almost maybe 4 or 5 years. So already it's not been tolerated. So it's going to get pushed out. So at the age of around 6, it might get, fully, pushed out. At around 6. Yeah, the other difference I was talking about between the white and the black is that the youngster of black always runs in front of mom, and the white always runs behind. Here in the Mara, historically, these guys disappeared quite a while, from the 80s, and the first female appeared here about 18 years ago. Out of the blue, she just appeared, and since then the population has been coming up. I can tell that is the old female, the mother to the 2, and look at that. She's actually has tolerated me. Look at the lip, that is the hook lip. It's eating browse, it's eating leaves. The eyesight is almost blind. It's very poor eyesight, but they depend on ears and nose to actually locate and find their way. Continue talking to us. #WildEarth. Question and comments are really, really welcome. Here, I have seen this female before, and I don't know for how much longer she will tolerate this youngster, but I don't think it's going to be long, because already I think the space is becoming smaller. That's what usually they like. They like lots of freedom, lots of area, so it might get pushed out, soon. Well, looks like she has gotten used of me because I'm the only one here, and I'm going to stay with her for a little bit longer. Let's take you to another safari vehicle.
Beautiful, thanks Isaac for link. And then here we'll find our beautiful smallest creature here, and the dwarf mongoose. You're looking at that mound and it looks like they just come out. It's a very interesting animal. They're the smallest carnivore, and they're so small that they're able to feed in this little mound. And for them to sleep, they choose unique a mound that they are sure about safety and everything in there, and that's where they sleep for the night. Now it looks like they're kind of coming out, and then first thing they check around for safety, where a lot of time they get ambushed by predators, which is a leopard most will go for such a small animal to feed. And then for them to make sure it's safe, they have to stick their nostrils and their eyes out, check up in the air if there is no eagle flying around, because eagle also can attack them as well. And they find a lot safer when they have a bird, so they have a relationship or friendship with hornbill birds, which and that's where they will be safe when they have this bird, because the bird will also perch on branches, tree, and of course look for safety, look for anything flies around. But if it's now, I just heard a lot of birds, but they're not a communication or not a warning sound. It's the kind of a rattling sister caller trying to call around here. You see how they react. They're all immediately trying to shoot back to their holes. So they are all aware of alert. Anything that they hear, they believe it could be a danger around. So they're kind of like, well, alert animal, dwarf mongoose. So their gestation period is 63 days, you can't believe, but consulting detective. Indeed, you're right. They are adorable. They look beautiful animal, and they don't have a lot of colors. They don't have a pattern on them at all. Not like a banded mongoose. And when you look at them, of course, they have kind of like a very dark chocolate color. They have, but they are so beautiful the way they are. A social animal and interactive hunters. When it comes to the hunting situation, they're all spread around, and then of course they're all capable of killing even snake around here. So if there is a snake, they get around trying to help each other kill that snake. And there's no chance will be a snake wherever they are, believe me. And they don't like snake. But there is a system there, in terms of breeding, alpha male and alpha female, similar slightly to a hyena, where a lot of time, a lot of these animals that you see there, they are just a helper. Most of them are just babysitter if they have babies. So it's a cool system they have. But again, when the mother forage, for food, it will be mother and and the whole other adult, alpha male, they will go forage and bring back, come back to give their baby a milk. And this is when the babysitter have a chance also to move around. And when they have babies, they stick around in the same den, but they've kind of changed them every few weeks, so there is no problem with fleas or anything that will harm the young one. So they give birth to about 2 to 4, average 3, a young one, but they kind of are some other area, highly seasonal animal in terms of breed. You know, depending on the rainfall, if it's so much dryness or there's not enough wet, of course they still breed but less. But of course they somewhere around October, May, that's where regularly they may breed from that. You know, they have operated Marion, welcome to your show this morning. Hope you're right there. You want to know if they can be domesticated, and I'm not 100% sure. If you find a young one, and that will grow in your hand, just like I've seen tree squirrels, of course. I've seen few people have them. And then all they do, they build this little cage. Wherever they travel them with them in a little cage. And then you can domesticate as well. There's hyena as well, I know for sure. Maybe you can with this one, but I haven't. Actually, I'll double check. Maybe you still can, I'm not sure. It's a good question that, of course, most animals there are different behavior in terms of how often until they get used to human or whatever they're trying to make friends with. So I'm going to leave these guys. I'm going to take you to another live station.
Welcome back to andBeyond, Phinda. Gerrit and I have been driving through the plains and scanning as we go, looking for any signs of cheetah or lions. But all we can seem to find for the time being is white rhino. My goodness. We've counted 13 so far that we can see in this area. And it's just all as a result of this lovely lush green grass that's growing all around them there. And this is now, see there's 2 of them there. And looking through the binoculars, it looks like 2 males, 2 bulls. And just like the rhinos earlier, see how their heads are down low to the ground, busily feeding. And also quite nice for all of you that are watching, having just come from those black rhinos in the Masai Mara. Quite easy now to see the difference between the 2 species. I mean, even with these rhinos' heads being down towards the ground, have a look at how shallow that saddle is on the back of these 2 white rhinos. Quite easy to identify them even from a distance as being white rhinos, thanks to that shallow saddle. And then also the fact that they're holding their heads down low to the ground like that. Black rhino having a bit of a deeper saddle in its back, between its shoulder and its hips, and also walking with its head held out in front of it. It's almost like they're playing a game of leapfrog. Dr. Octobon, you're asking if rhinos have territories. Dr. Octobon, in terms of the white rhinos, only the bulls will have territories. The females will have home ranges, being just an area that they use to survive, that's got food and water and shelter for them, but that they don't defend against other rhinos. White rhino bulls, though, Dr. Octobon, they will definitely have territories, yes. when they're adults and when they're in their prime. And they will defend that territory against other bulls. They'll use scent marking to keep other males out. And that scent marking is done through spraying their urine, as well as through defecating in big piles called middens. And so a white rhino bull will have a few of those middens in his territory, and whenever he goes to defecate, he'll always defecate on one of those piles, and then he'll kick the dung open with his feet to get the scent of his dung onto his feet, so that as he walks around his territory, his scent gets laid down. And also, I suppose, by doing that, he can advertise to females that he's in the area. And females will often come and defecate near to his midden, especially if they're coming into estrus, so that he can then find them if they are looking for a mate. But now, strange that there's two bulls here together, and what I'm assuming is that didn't quite get as good a look as I would like. It's a bit tough to see from here, but it looks like one of them is an adult male, and one is a slightly smaller male. So it might just be that because that smaller one is behaving submissively, he's not scent marking, the older bull is accepting his presence in his territory. Typically speaking, as long as a white rhino bull doesn't behave territorially in another bull's territory, he may be accepted. But should he try to scent mark or try to court a female, then he'll be looking for trouble. Mordecai, you're asking if these white rhinos have any predators. Mordecai, at this size, with these rhinos being adults, oh look, there's one that's curling its tail. See what it does? It might be that it's about to defecate. We'll watch carefully. No, just curling it. Because these white rhinos are so big, they have very few predators. Sometimes prides of lions, big prides of lions, or big clans of hyenas will try and tackle white rhinos, but normally if it's a young rhino or a sick, weak, injured or old rhino. But a very healthy white rhino like this, that's fully grown or almost fully grown, doesn't really have much to worry about in terms of predators out here. Also here at andBeyond Phinda, because of how many or how large the population of other general game is, there's big herds of wildebeest and zebra, lots of Ngala's, lots of warthogs. Predators like lions and hyenas will normally try and tackle those animals. They are generally easier to catch, they require less energy, and the chance of injury is lower. Of course, for predators, it's all about risk versus reward. You know, if they try and tackle something that's very big, sure, the reward is very high because they're going to get lots of food from it. But trying to tackle a rhino is a very dangerous thing to do. There's a very good chance of getting injured, maybe even mortally injured, and it will require a lot of energy to try and bring it down. So it's not worth it for the predators here. Listen to that whistling in the background. It's a rufous-napped lark that's calling behind us. But wonderful to spend some more time with rhinos this morning. I think Gerrit and I are going to carry on driving down this road, seeing as these rhinos are walking away from us. And we're going to, apparently there's been a pride of lions that's been found not far from here. So we're going to start making our way in that direction.
Well, different rhinos, very far away from those ones. I'm here in the Masai Mara, and I'm still very close to my 3 rare black rhino. The population of these animals, so that you're aware, stands at around 5,000. So they're very, very, very few. The predators to this black rhino are only, lions. Big prides of lions will outmaneuver a mother and take a young one. Those are the number 1 threat. And then threat number 2 is crocodiles when crossing the river. It has been said that the crocodiles is the other threat to black rhino. Otherwise, it's a big body, it's a thick skin, and that horn can deter most of the predators, even human. And also, they can run at top speeds of up to 60 kilometers. So it is like a tanker when it's running and can turn in very sharp angles. Here they are at peace, you can tell, very, very relaxed, not worried at all. And I'm very, very happy that, it's behaving like this, because normally when you see rhinos, you see their tail and you see them disappearing. I'm talking about the black rhino. It's very, very, very shy. Unlike its cousin, the white rhino, can tolerate humans. These ones don't. I'm still quite a distance away, but with the help of the zoom, we can be able to, share with you without disturbing them. Usually, every now and then, they will wallow in a wallow. Elisa, would a black rhino mate with a white rhino? No. It has never been heard. They are totally different families. They are actually rhinos, but very different in comparison to behavior and habitat, and what they eat. They're very, very different, so they would never mate. If you said, a northern white rhino and a southern white rhino, there could be a probability that they would mate. In fact, the northern white rhino is almost extinct. We have only 2 females remaining in northern Kenya, a place called Olpajeta. And before the last few male rhinos died, they had, extracted some semen from them, and they already have done some serious study where they're going to use the southern white rhino as surrogate mothers. So those two, if they were left together, they could have bred. But now it has to take the intervention of human to bring back the almost extinct northern white rhino. So if there were those 2 species, then I would say yes. But the black and the white, I would say definitely a big no. Here looks like everybody has come close to one another. I don't know for what reason. Usually the black rhino loves a huge expanse of land, at the same time with a lot of different types of trees and also wallows. It adds an extra skin, very much like an elephant, to reduce Serial Jumbo. Where are the last white rhinos, and are they alive? Yes, we have them here in Kenya, in a small park called Olpajeta Conservancy in northern Kenya. There are 2 females related. One is the daughter of the other one, and they were rescued from a zoo in the Czech Republic. The reason why they ran extinct is that they occurred in the Horn of Africa, Sudan. That's where they mostly were. But due to the war, they were killed to fuel the war, and that's how they went extinct. But the last few were rescued and taken to some zoos in the Czech Republic. Over there, they lived in very harsh conditions, cold, and also cement floors. So by the time they realized that, we didn't have any in Africa, they decided to bring back the 3 that were remaining. There was a male that died a few years back, and when they brought them, the conditions were very bad. They thought they would breed by themselves, but due to living in those conditions, they had developed very serious arthritis, and it was impossible for the females to actually carry young. So the 2 are in northern Kenya, a place called Olpajeta. They are doing their last few years. They are under very great care the management really takes care of them. And we are hoping that in the near future, we're going to have fresh or new white rhinos after the surrogate mother carries the young one. Here, they're getting comfortable with me. It looks like they're turning towards me. I'm really loving this. I hope you're enjoying it also. I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer. Let's take you to another safari vehicle.
Well, there's much battles going on today with the large copper dung beetles, as you can see. They are fighting over balls of dung. Goodness gracious. They're trying to make them from Impala pellets, as you can see. We've been flipped over. But this is quite challenging for these guys because you can see this dung doesn't look very, very fresh. So there must have been some fresher bits earlier on, which they've sort of broken apart. You can see that one there now, using his front legs. And their legs are just incredible. I don't know if any of you have obviously seen a dung beetle up close, but they've got these grooves on the outside. And those are really great. It's almost like a spade. And collect all the dung quite easily. And then pack it nice and tight. But it seems as though it is a big rush. There's much competition because there isn't much dung left that they can use. So it's very difficult for them to use the dry dung. It doesn't stick as well. So they've got to make do and use the freshest stuff. Look at that. They're so quick. They're so efficient. I almost want to say that these dung beetles are of German descent because of their efficiency. They waste absolutely no time. They do or complete their tasks as quick as possible. Oh no, you're going to try and steal his as well. Look at them go. There were quite a few more, but they have since flown off. I suspect that this is too much competition here, and it's not really worth the battle. You can see, look how tiny those balls are. And these dung beetles, I mean, they're not small, but they're not massive either. And you've seen the size of balls of dung that the large copper dung beetles can roll, especially when there is some elephant dung around. To the right, I think, and then you'll be on it. There is one now, center of your screen, that's still busy just scooping up the last of it. You can see those dung pellets look very, very old, and I think they're going to even struggle to break into those. Because we've had such hot weather, the coatings of the dung dry up so quickly. But it always just amazes me as to how quickly dung beetles sort of out of nowhere arrive as soon as any dung has been dropped onto the ground. Oh, there we go. Another one has come on in and said, right, I'm going to take this from you. Yeah, there's nothing left for you there. You're going to have to try and steal that one, I'm afraid. Now it's going to be a match of who's stronger. Megan, yes, they do like other... This was just what was available. Away from the standby, sorry. I'm going to draw your attention away from the dung beetles in a minute. So because there's some zebras coming towards us. Now, some of you may remember from many months ago when we first started driving on Pridelands, we had an incredible fight between some stallions, and it seems as though the herds have moved back to the open plains because the grass is here and it's nice and short, and there has been much parading around. So let's see if these zebra jump about. So Megan, they will also definitely collect zebra dung, elephant, kudu, buffalo, anything that they can, but it has to be relatively fresh. So we're just going to wait for the other zebras to kind of come on up. But they ran up here now. There's quite a few. I'm just going to quickly count them. There must be about 20 zebra here, which is quite cool. Sorry, out of the way. There we go. We can't really see the Drakensberg Mountains today, I'm afraid. It's a bit hazy, but it's normally quite a nice view. So there's another section of the herd. They should all come up this way soon, and we will try and reposition at some point to try and get a better view, but I won't do that now because I know that our signal's not always fantastic up here, and that it can just just disappear. But I would like to go around to the other side so that we can get a much better unobstructed view. Because right now it's not that great. And it's quite far away. But we're going to do that. We're going to start our cars, try not to drive over any of the dung beetles in the process, and try and have a better look at the zebra.
From the dung beetle to our Palearctic migrant, we have a bird of prey in the falcon family, the lesser kestrel. So this lesser kestrel has a kill and looks like she flew over and got a luck. Look at how she's scanning the area. So lesser kestrel will breed all the way in the Mediterranean, in the Afghan region, China and Asia. And July, October, all the way through March, they will be here in Kenya. And then just after that, they will head back. So these birds are present here until March, or sometimes even go all the way through to May. You still find them here. So they always flock in big numbers. So in such a tree, sometimes you can find up to 20 birds. So that's a female. They'll take on reptiles, vertebrate, grasshoppers, and even small birds like what she's eating right now. They have a unique way of hunting where they'll, oh, look at that. Very beautiful to see these kind of birds, especially when the migrants come into these parts of Africa. We're always happy knowing that they're not going to extinct. They're still in their natural condition, and they're also making these long journeys all the way here. So when they're hunting, they will always flash off prey and then fly in a very super speed. And sometimes they can hover off on the air and then dive to their prey. Because the females have slightly paler and then they're streaky on their chest, while the males have a kind of like a rusty orange dark patches. I'm always excited when I see Palearctic migrants, and that shows that this area is still biodiversity rich. So always great sighting whenever I come across the migrants. So I'm going to sit here, watch this migrant continue. Oh, she's left. So I'm going to carry on and go to another place where I'll find more game or she went down on the ground, as I take you over to another live location.
Okay, so some of the rangers managed to find these two members of the Birmingham Pride. So these are ones that we did not see over the last sort of 2 or 3 days. So you can see here we got that big female. There she's moving her paw. So that's the big old female. So she's one of the ones that's about 14, 15 years old. See there, really zooms in on her face. A bit hidden by the branches, but very old face. Look at her nose, very, very dark. So she's the sister of the lead lioness that we saw last night. But they've been away from the pride now for probably close on a week, if not a little bit longer than a week. They've been separated. And then this one, that's really relaxing. Feet up in the air. Oh, and a paw on the face. Can't be comfortable. But that is one of the youngest females. So she is the sister of the white female. So she's the one that now, I think about 1.5 years, just over 1.5 years. And as I said, they've been separated for quite a while. And you can actually see, if Owen zooms in there, I'm not sure what you guys can see, but just above the pad of the toes, on that white fur, is a little bit of red, a little bit of what I believe to be blood. The strange thing is, there's no blood on any of the other paws. There's no blood on their faces, on their neck, anywhere like that. So I think that you can see there is most likely from maybe a thorn or a sharp stone or something on the ground while they were walking. And it just stabbed into between her pad. They got soft flesh there. Probably went in there. Doesn't seem to be bothering her too much though. And she looks very relaxed. But it's quite strange. I mean, this is not her mother. More like an aunt. And the fact that they've been together for the last, I think they've been together about 4 days. It was about a week ago that they saw this older female in the river, quite close to their tented camp. She actually managed to catch a kudu by herself and defend that kudu from about 6 or 8 hyenas while she ate. As I said, that was about a week ago. And then somehow she then joined up with this younger female cub. We're not sure where exactly they met up, but they just joined together and have now been together for the last 5 days, just relaxing.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Remember I said that Gert and I were going to go and have a look at what that pride of lions was up to that someone had found, but on our way we spotted this mother cheetah sticking her head up through the long grass, and on closer inspection discovered that it's one of the mothers with her 2 little cubs. And Mom has had a successful hunt this morning. She's managed to bring down a young Impala that the cubs are now busily feeding on. It must have been maybe an hour ago or so, just looking at how much of the carcass has already been fed on. Look at how those 2 cubs are busily feeding. Getting stuck into the meat around the diaphragm of the Impala. I apologize everyone, if you are sensitive, now would be a good time to look away. There will be a bit of blood and maybe internal organs to be seen. Oh, look at the blood around the lips of those cubs. That one cub on the left there trying to find a different angle or a different part of the carcass to feed on. I don't know if you can see just past that cub that's standing up there, you might be able to see in the body cavity the stomach and the intestines that are bulging out of the back of the impala. See how the cheetah are very carefully avoiding that. They don't want to eat that. They're focusing just on the muscle and the flesh. Now feeding on, like I said, on the diaphragm. They've already finished part of or most of the rump of the impala. Oh, look at how that cub is looking down. Did you see how it just looked down at the grass there? There was that dung beetle that just flew in. And I wonder if it's not maybe the smell of the stomach contents coming out of the intestines and out of the stomach that has attracted the dung beetle. We've seen one or two of them flying against the wind, coming in, following the scent. There we go once again. Look at all the blood around that little cub on the right, around his lips, or around its lips. Looks like Mom is ready to join the feeding again. She's trying to find her own spot to feed on. Looks like she's going to start maybe on the other side of the rump. Maybe on the back there. Amazing how peacefully they feed next to each other. There's no fighting, there's no growling. Everybody's got their little piece of the carcass. They're very different to something like watching, for example, watching a pride of lions when they feed, and how aggressive they can be towards each other. And for those of you that were watching yesterday, I was speaking about the molar teeth of cheetah, and how they've got those sharp edges that when they chew, they work like a pair of scissors. And remember I said that, so when a big cat like a cheetah chews, it'll turn its head sideways to help it to cut meat off of the carcass. See how those cubs are doing the same there, turning their head sideways to get those molar teeth into play to help them cut off bits of meat. And I'm just going to keep quiet for a second. See if you can hear the sounds of those little teeth cutting through the hide and cutting through the flesh. I don't know if you could hear those crunches coming from the direction of the cheetah. And that's that little youngster in front of us going through the softer parts of the ribs and going through the hide. Apparently you could hear it very faintly. It is quite windy, so that is making it a bit more difficult to hear. But look at the dung beetle that's still flying in, and every time a dung beetle comes in, the cheetah look at it all nervously. Yo, lots of dung beetles now flying in, landing in amongst the cheetah. Like I said, it's the stomach contents, the digested grass from the stomach and the intestines that is attracting these dung beetles to the site of the kill. Look at this little cub closer to us and how it's struggling to get through that tough hide there of that impala. But amazing how even at this size, I mean, these cubs look obviously small compared to Mum, but yet they're already equipped with the teeth and the weaponry, so to speak, to open the carcass themselves and to cut through the hide, to cut meat off for themselves. And looking at the size of these cubs, looking at the size of the impala as well, like I said, it's quite a young impala, probably born last year, one of last year's young. And at this age, these cheetah cubs will be starting to learn from Mom how to actually kill things. So she'll be wanting to encourage them to help her a little bit in terms of killing the prey. So she may have caught the impala, overpowered it, and then her cubs may have jumped onto it as well and helped her to weigh it down. I don't think she quite would have left it to run away from them and then encourage them to kind of chase after it, because it's definitely big enough that it would have been able to escape. But the cubs may have jumped on it after it was dead and maybe grabbed it by the throat and practiced their killing bite on its throat. Karen, you're asking if these cheetah cubs will be suckling now that they're eating meat. Karen, at this age, like I said, these cubs are probably around 7 months or so. And no, they will not be suckling anymore. They will be feeding only on meat. Quite different with cheetah compared to something like a lion, where lion cubs will often suckle up to close to a year old. They'll still be suckling. Cheetah cubs are normally weaned at a much younger age than that. Normally around 3 months that they stop suckling and then go on to just feeding on meat. Look at this little one moving around, trying for a new angle on the carcass. Look at how they're kind of feeding from the rear end of the Impala up. So where the mother is, that's where the back end of the carcass is, and then the head is then kind of between her and us. And like I said, they would have started on the rump, and they're now feeding their way up along the back and through the diaphragm, avoiding the internal organs, focusing just on feeding on the muscle. And from here, I think Mom's going to feed her way towards the shoulder of this Impala. Although there, I know it's quite gruesome. I'm just going to look through my binoculars just to see if I can see what she's feeding on, because it looks like something quite soft. Look at the dung beetle. The dung beetle sitting on the rumen, on the stomach of the Impala. It's like it's trying to break into the stomach to get to that digested grass. Ooh. It's a little bit of a not quite a growl, but a bit of a yowl from the mother, and a snap at her youngster. Obviously getting in her way. The youngster now smelling in amongst the organs and licking up the blood, but still avoiding actually feeding on those organs. There's still bits of soft tissue though that he keeps pulling out of there, and that the mother was pulling out of there as well. Through my binoculars, it looks like, just having a look at the shoulder of this Impala, it looks like they've already started to try and feed there. It looks like some of the skin has been pulled away there. There's a bit of an open patch there on the shoulder. But it's going to be interesting to watch over the next little while as this mother cheetah feeds further up the carcass, to see how long it takes them to finish it, and to see what transpires. They're out in the open here, so this carcass might attract things like vultures, and so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens. And Gert and I are definitely going to sit here and watch what happens.
Good morning, everyone. It's another beautiful morning here in Tswalu Kalahari. We are currently busy following some very small lion tracks. As you can see just over here on the road, there's quite the activity on both sides. So both the Southern Pride females cubs have been walking here. The one with that very small set, I want to say they're almost about, maybe just larger than a 5 rand coin, and then the ones that are the 5-month-old cubs. So yeah, they're heading up into this hill behind us. So just so that you can see where it is, quite a rocky area, quite a good spot where the moms can stash them. Their tracks look like the moms now, look like they
moved off after they've left them here in the rocky area. So we're just trying to establish whether we can see them here in the rocks or not. But yeah, we'll let you know if we do find something. Guys, by the way, my name is Moritz. Behind the camera, we've got David. But yeah, just a stunning view. Beautiful way to start the morning. Quite exciting to see these little lion tracks. I haven't seen those little cubbies yet. So quite cool. It would be exciting to see if we can find them. I really, really want them. For those of you who's been following us, you'd know I was constantly looking for that big Southern Pride female to see if she wants to show her cubs to us. And then just as I went on leave, she actually revealed them. So I haven't seen them yet. So desperate to see them. But just to see both sets of cubs together would be already great. You know, there's going to be a lot of playing, a lot of interaction, all of those types of things. We just had a question from Lemon Lime. What type of animal will greatly affect the African bush if they had to become extinct? And now that we're looking at these lion tracks, absolutely the lion tracks, the lions itself. With them being a keystone species, as we call them, having quite a big impact on the environment, because they take off all the herbivores and so on, all the weaker animals that will overpopulate a certain environment. So keeping the balance of the herbivores healthy. If they weren't here, there wouldn't be all the weak and old and injured animals being taken off. And with that being the case, overgrazing and overbrowsing, overutilization of the environment would happen, which would in turn cause the vegetation to, some of the vegetation to start getting extinct. That would in turn cause some of the herbivores to get extinct. And, there's a whole chain reaction. Herbivores getting extinct would cause other predators to also die out. So big thing is the lions. They are what we call a keystone species. But you know what, guys? Every single organism within the ecosystem or biosphere is absolutely important for its existence, or for its smooth running, as we can call it. The smallest thing down to a termite up to the biggest thing like an elephant has to be there for everything to run in sync. Obviously different environments have different animals. We don't have elephants here in the Kalahari, so that is going to be something else. But with that being said, things like eland, if they become extinct, that would also be a big impact on our side.
Okay. So, yeah, not much happening. I think it's the heat now, Viv. That one bro is probably cooking a little bit in the sun. So if you're hearing a little tick, 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 it's not me, I promise you. We think we fixed it on our side.
It's clear on my side.
Sound good to you? Yeah, Eddie says it's clear on his side.
So we are currently driving here in the Masamara plains, where we call it the Topi Plains. Not much actually getting to see here. We have zebras up in the savannah there. But I'm hoping to find some lions. I think it's very, very cold at the moment. So I think they're all crowd somewhere for warmth. It rained a little bit yesterday, I can't see any plains game at the moment. Lots of zebras and wildebeest to the right. Just about now. But it seems like it's going to be a good morning. As far as my eyes can see right now, I can see loads and loads. So I'm going to stop here and get to see all those wildebeest. We had thought that they had left for Tanzania, but let me hang around here as we take you over to another safari vehicle.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. This mother cheetah is slowly feeding her way up the carcass. And one of the youngsters, the smaller of the two siblings, having looked through the binoculars, it looks like it's a little female. She's moved off the carcass, obviously having had enough to eat for now. It's quite comical to see how many dung beetles are still flying in, everyone. There's a steady stream of them coming from downwind. They've obviously been flying. Look at the little cheetah come. Watching the dung beetles buzzing around him. This is just too precious. And they're even now crawling in amongst the organs, in amongst the intestines and around the stomach. Like I said, trying to get to that digested grass, the stomach contents. And Shame, it was quite funny, the little female, when she stopped feeding, I think a dung beetle must have landed on her because she suddenly jumped and did like this little, like, shudder. Like when you touch something that you're afraid of and then you shiver afterwards. It was almost like one of those little things. Look, more beetles flying in. There's so many dung beetles. They've obviously been flying in the air currents or flying along and then smelling the scent of the partially digested grass, of the dung of this impala on the wind, and then just following the scent here to the carcass. There's Mom sitting up and scanning. Look at all the blood on her face. On her nose there, around her chin, and on her tongue. You asking if she would, or this mother cheetah, if she would defend her kill against a hyena or if she'd run away. Byron, more than likely she'd run away. At first, she might kind of hunch herself over. She'd stand with her head down and her legs stiff and her tail between her back legs, and she would try and make herself look big, and she might run towards the hyena, slapping her front paws on the ground and making like a growling, yowling sound. In an attempt to try and drive the hyena away, but from there it would more than likely be that the hyena would probably just push past her and come and take the carcass, and she wouldn't try to compete with it. A hyena is much stronger, much more stocky, much more powerful than she is, and the odds of her getting severely injured in a conflict with a hyena is very high. So she'd rather just live to fight another day, so to speak, and abandon the carcass. Yeah, unfortunately for her, with her being so small and sleek and highly specialized to run at high speed, she's very poorly equipped to actually stand and fight against another predator. Look at how small her head is in relation to her body. Very small jaws. Look at how small her shoulders are. A small neck. Very frail, at least in appearance, compared to a hyena or a lion. So yeah, she would definitely give way to all of those predators. Even things like vultures, Byron, we've spoken about it. In fact, the last time that we actually saw this mother, oh, look what she's doing. See how she's busy pawing grass and trying to cover the carcass? Return trip, you're saying there's so many dung beetles, it's like they're about to steal the carcass. Well, I think if any more of them arrive, then there might be enough of them to collectively roll the impala away. But see how she's busy covering it with grass, everybody. So we spoke about how things like vultures and other scavenging birds of prey might be able to spot this carcass from the air. And if they see it, then they'll start to dive down to this area to come and try and feed on it. And if there's enough vultures, that's what I was about to say earlier, if there's like a big group of vultures, they might even be able to intimidate this mother cheetah. So by covering it with grass, she's trying to make it as inconspicuous as possible to the eyes of scavenging birds of prey. See what that little cub on the right just did? How he went to the neck of that impala and started to bite it. That's what I was saying earlier. Remember I said at this age, these little cubs are going to be practicing their hunting techniques and their killing skills. And that's something they'll often do. Even after this impala is long dead, that little young cheetah is still getting up and going to grab the throat and practice that chokehold that it will use one day to kill its prey, just like its mother did this morning. Now, I know obviously Mom was trying to cover, she had the best intentions when she was trying to cover this carcass to try and keep it safe, but it doesn't look too nice now, that little cub having to eat in amongst the grass. Byron, you're asking if this mother cheetah is going to stay with this carcass overnight or if she'll abandon it. Byron, what will more than likely happen is that she's going to eat as much as she can. Her and her cubs are going to feed until they can't eat any more of this impala, to where their bellies are super full. And then Byron, she'll more than likely move away from it. Because the smell of this carcass, like it's attracting dung beetles, we said that birds of prey might be able to spot it. The smell is also going to be traveling along with this very strong wind. And if there's any other predators in the area, they might smell it and they might follow the scent and come to the carcass. And if she's here, there might be a confrontation between her and the other predators, and she won't want that. So she'll want to move away from it. But I think she'll probably spend a bit of time around here for now, just like I said, trying to fill up with as much meat as possible. Oh, she's putting more grass on it. But it's amazing to watch these three cheetah feeding on this carcass, and Gert and I are definitely going to spend some more time here to see what transpires.
From the cheetahs to our wildebeest here, and it seems like something has happened. They've already turned around and came back. Yesterday this plain was deserted. There's nothing at all. So we had thought that they had gone all the way to the border because there's a big concentration of herd along the Olololo escarpment heading towards Tanzania. But because of this rain yesterday, they all decided to come back. And it looks like they headed towards the river direction. Look at how many they are, overstretching. As far as my eyes can see, it's all wildebeest. Beautiful sound, beautiful noises they're making. I like the way the wind is blowing their mane and how some of them are just relaxed. This year we've seen this herd prevail in the Mara for long. Normally in October, but towards the first week of October, they'll all be heading back to Tanzania. But this time round, they've decided to stay. And how long they're going to stay, still don't have an idea. But I'll be happy to see them hold on, because these are nice sighting. We've seen lots of lion activity, seen lots of movement. At least now we get to learn about a new behavior, how they're walking towards the Sand River, towards the Olololo escarpment, towards the swamps, how they keep on splitting and coming back together, which is something that we always get to find as unique and a new behavior that we witnessed. I see a small herd of zebra walking amongst this wildebeest. I'm sure later on in the day when it's hot, they might want to go to the river, and possibly there might be a crossing. Antoinette, thank you for your comment. This is a lot. I don't know what number, but this seems like a very big herd, stretching all the way to the horizon as far as my eyes can see, this wildebeest. So possibly they came back last night, because I remember driving through here last night and there was nothing at all. By the time we were closing the show, this area was deserted. But you wake up in the morning, every day is a surprise for us. Erika, thank you so much for your question. I'll not say this is the longest, but we have some years where they've at least stayed towards the end of October, but this is amongst the longest time that they've spent here in the Mara. I'll be keen to see if these herds will prevail or hang around the Mara for as long as maybe the next 2 weeks, which will be so interesting to still have them here, because they are really playing a good important role here, because they level the grass, and of course the predators here get to have a good meal as they are feeding. So there's lots of moisture in the grass, so at least that can keep them moving for about next 2 hours. Thank you so much for your question. The Masai Mara is about 1,510 square kilometers. That is how big the Mara is, 1,510 square kilometers. Actually, weather pattern, rain, is what is making this wildebeest come this far. Because you'll notice that when it stopped raining for 2 days, these herds move further down to the south. And if rain comes back again, they come this direction. So it's always nice to have rain, and of course when you see this kind of herds, we know that it's going to be raining. So that is what our traditional ancestors will tell when it's about to rain. They'll watch the animal behavior, birds, swallows, even wildebeest, and they'll tell it's about time that we have to plow or to make sure that we are all in a safe ground where it's raised, because it's going to rain. Just listen to the sound as they're walking. I'm going to hang around here and watch this herd as they're slowly grazing, as I take you over to another live location.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. Both of the cubs are now back on the carcass and busy feeding, despite mom having covered their food in grass. and the dung beetles are still pouring in. Here go, Mum's up. Let's see if she maybe goes and starts to feed around the shoulder region of this impala. No, she's gone back to the spine area. There's obviously still a bit of meat. See what she just did there, how she kind of shifted her tongue around in her mouth there. I think she might have got some of the grass in her mouth. I suppose a price to pay for trying to keep your kill as inconspicuous as possible to scavenging birds is getting the odd mouthful of grass. Oh, look, she's moving it, look at that. Shame the cub got a fright from her mum suddenly moving the carcass. Obviously decided that she wants to reposition it a little bit. See how much of that carcass is still there. They've only really eaten not even the back quarter of that impala. Linda, you're asking if cheetah pluck the fur from their prey. Linda, typically not. No, they'll just, once the animal is dead, they'll normally go straight towards the rump of the animal, and they'll just start to use those molar teeth in the back of their mouth and that carnassial shear, the two sharp leading edges of their molars, to just start slicing through the hide and then getting to the meat. I think Mom might be standing in the way, but look at those cubs behind her, how they're busy licking each other's faces. That's too cute. Busy grooming each other. Of course, that will be reaffirming their bond, but also helping to keep each other nice and clean. Getting all the blood off of each other's faces. There you go, Mom's starting to feed again. Like now she's starting to feed towards the belly of this impala, or that soft meat around the belly. Sure, there's still a lot of food here for these cheetah. Have a look at the youngster that's sitting up behind Mom and how heavily it's breathing. It's panting quite heavily. Its tummy looks like it's already quite full, so that's the little female cub, it looks like. She's obviously fed well, and she's now decided she's had enough, gone to go and lie down in the long grass for a bit while she waits for her sibling and for Mom to have their fill. But you might find that after a little while that little female decides that maybe she can squeeze a bit more into her belly and she'll get up and go and feed again. And like I said earlier, these cheetah are going to gorge themselves. They're going to feed as much as they possibly can, because of course they don't know when they might get the chance to eat again. Maybe days before they're able to, or before Mom is able to kill another impala or a daycare or something. I see every now and then Mom sits up and scans and looks around, just keeping an eye on her surroundings. Looking at the spot that she's killed this impala, look at how open it is and how the hills are rolling a bit, but there's a lot of open ground around her, and that will definitely work to her favor because she'll be able to spot any scavengers coming from quite a distance away and then react accordingly. She'll be able to get her little ones away timeously if a lioness or something starts to make its way in this direction. It's been quite funny though. I don't know if you saw that dung beetle that just flew in there. There's been quite a few dung beetles, like we said, that have been flying in, and every now and then one flies quite close to the cheetah's face, and they almost, you can see like they suddenly get distracted by the dung beetle and stare at it. I'm sure we've all had like a fly buzzing around our head. Imagine a dung beetle buzzing around your head, the sound that it must make, that loud psh noise, and how distracting and maybe even irritating it must be for these cheetah. It seems now like it's just Mom that's busy feeding, and her belly still looks relatively empty, so I think she's still going to be here for a while as she tries to finish off this carcass.
So, all right, guys, we actually circled. So we checked that mountain out, or that koppie out with eagle eyes. Didn't see anything. So they might be, the cubs now, might be right on top of the little rocky outcrop where we just can't go or see them. So we looped around to see if we could find the female, the moms, see if their tracks go over somewhere. And we actually bumped into these. We only see 2 of them now, but there's a third one just off to our left behind a bush, which we can't see at the moment. She might get up and come and join these in the shade of the camel thorn. These are also members of prior members, probably, of the Southern Pride. The lion dynamics here in this pride is a little unclear at the moment with the new cubs coming in. Typically you'll find these ones with the pride and the females, but these are the sub-adult females, those almost 2, maybe 2.5-year-old females that has been hanging around actually with the first mom, with the older cubs, for quite some time. I think now that there's 2 litters of cubs, those 2 females, the 2 moms decided to stick together and hunt together and so on, take care of the cubs together. And these are now operating by themselves. Now you can see they're just cleaning themselves at the moment. Well, the one is cleaning the grass, the other one cleaning herself. But they are lying. When we approached them, we could see they're lying facing directly into the wind. And they're constantly looking out in the direction which the wind is coming from. So there's one of 2 things. Either they're hungry and they want to hunt, or those other females are here somewhere and they're smelling them, but they can't see them. So they're just paying attention to see what lion is coming over the hill. Now, either one of those 2 situations would be great if we could see that, either hunting or, reuniting with the other females. Sarah just had a question. Are lions poached for their bones like tigers? Sarah, unfortunately, yes. It's not as big of a problem in South Africa that I know of. I've heard of it happening further north in Southern Africa quite a bit, for the bone powder of the lions. So yes, unfortunately, there is cases here and there. It is not as big of a problem as we have with rhino poaching and so on in Southern Africa. I feel like the ivory poaching and also elephants and then rhino poaching are our 2 biggest problems. As far as poaching is concerned, possibly pangolin as well. However, there is cases of lions being poached for their bones. So yes, they are, unfortunately. Don't know why. Don't know what it works for. Possibly nothing. But yes, that is the case. Unfortunately. But yeah, guys, on a more, positive note, it would be great if these guys want to hunt also. They are 3 beautiful young females. So I'm really excited to see how they grow up and hopefully integrate back into the pride and see if they don't want to become one of the leading females one day. And possibly in about maybe a year or so have cubs of their own. That would be great. I want that 3rd female now to come and join them. There's not a lot of shade left where she's lying. And the bush that she did choose also doesn't have a lot of leaves, so it didn't provide a lot of shade to start with. But these 2 camel thorn trees are perfect for them to lie in. And also a really good area for them to, if they do want to hunt, set up a hunting opportunity. It's quite open, but with enough cover so that they can, devise a plan and hide behind it and, set up a trap for the animals if they do come in. We did pass quite a large herd of Gemsbok oryx heading towards the lions. So hopefully they'll move this way. And if that is the case, we're going to come show you. But for the meantime, we're going to send you somewhere else.
Well, you cannot believe the news, but the wildebeest are back. Like I've always said, they have a mind of their own. They truly have one. I am surrounded by hundreds of thousands of them. The day before yesterday, I shared with you just a trickle of them heading back towards the Serengeti. But today, from where I was, it looks like they're much nearer. Their heads are facing north. I don't know what has triggered this, but we have had lots of rain the previous day and also last night. They can smell the onset of rain and the smell of rain, and usually I think they know there's going to be plenty of grass, and this has forced them to come back. This resting looks like they've been very tired because of walking throughout the night, and it's time for much needed rest. So they're resting, all scattered everywhere, not moving, tells me they're here to have a break and graze. That is typical of them when you see them scattered like this. How far they will go north, I don't know. I'm still hoping that, they'll get to the river and we can have the crossings. But, yes, they are back. This is the white-bearded gnu, together with the zebra. They make up the highest percentage of the migrating animals, amounting to around 2 million. And already I have a couple of 100,000. There is still plenty of grass, so there is nothing to worry about. And I think that's why they've been forced to come back. But they are everywhere. Everywhere. As you can see. Is that male Jumbo? You want to know, what percentage of them get eaten? It is actually a very small percentage. I cannot even tell. The water actually kills more wildebeest than how many are eaten. I would say maybe not even 1% are eaten by the predators. It's a very small percentage. But the water, while crossing the river, the crocodiles and drowning actually kills more than what, the predators kill. Also, exhaustion and thirst does kill more out here in the open plains. So it's a very small percentage. I can tell, yeah, they are here. They have arrived. A lot of them are resting. We're just surrounded. It's just amazing. It's just clearing up. It was quite chilly, and I'm sure, they're very, very happy to have the sun. So I'm going to stick here for a little bit. Let's, take you to another safari vehicle and find out what they have for you guys. Hata unajipigianga debe. Yeah, haven't left my spot. If you look way back there, you will see that we have quite a very good number scattered far and wide, everywhere. The white-bearded gnu is a very successful animal in such that, it breeds almost every year. So in the lifespan that it lives, about 15 to 18 years, if it is successful, it will breed 18 times. Maybe of those 18, maybe 10 will reach maturity. It has never been said, but that is my theory. I think about 10. And this is an animal that is constantly on the move in search of greener pastures, in search of peaceful places, and it's always on the move. Over here they have arrived. I'm sure they're just resting, and then they'll move further north. Maybe cross the river, because most of the rain that we received yesterday was across the other side of the river, where we call it the Great Amara. And if they do that, it means we're going to have a few crossings, which is going to make it the most unusual migration ever, because, you know, we've never had crossings this late. But who am I to say anything? They might cross behind those animals, as you can see so far. That is the Olololo escarpment, and it's still quite hazy back there. It's warming up. I'm sure they're loving this. The wildebeest is a very fast runner. It's got very good eyesight. Their sense of smell is also very good, and also hearing. The main problem about them, they can run blindly in the long grass, and that's how they usually get ambushed. And also, they don't fight back, and so many predators will just go for them. Lions actually have it very easy to bring them down. Hyenas do hunt them, leopards. So that's the main problem, but their senses are very, very good. The ones we're looking at here are all males. They have that, you know, thick middle part of the horns. That is usually for fighting, and at the same time for cushioning the brain from, you know, strong impact. Sometimes they do break their horns, and when they do them, then, you know, they don't. Butterfly, how many are born in a year? It's a period of about 2 months that, you know, they get born, and about 8,000 are born almost every day. So we are talking something like almost 400,000. It's quite a lot of animals. We are talking a very big, you know, they say the estimate is around 250,000 to around 400,000 are born every year. And of those, maybe about 100,000 will die during their first year due to separation, a river, being killed, exhaustion, and other elements like, you know, being rained on after being separated, not having been very strong. So, you know, many of them do die. And some of them, like that one you see there, has made it to his first migration. He's still very lucky that he still got his mom with him. And you can see how closely he's following mom. But already mom is carrying a young one, so when she gives birth, he'll have to make do with himself. Well, I'm gonna move on. Let's see what else we can show you on another safari vehicle.
Ready up. Our secretary bird has decided to walk away from us. Look at how she's walking in a very distinctive manner. Seems like got something. And after this, select a prey, they stamp with their feet. Look at what's happening there. Got it and swallowed. That was a small rat. So they have very strong feet where they use that to stomp on their victims, and then they get to eat them or swallow them alive. Whole or alive, it doesn't matter. That these birds are very, very unique. The diet also consists of snakes, lizards, crabs, grasshoppers. But snakes form a very small part of their diet. As they're walking around these grassland plains, they come across eggs and other reptiles, because we have lots of terrestrial birds that nest or lay their eggs on the ground, especially those lapwings. Their eggs fall victim to these secretary birds. It's a very admired bird. You find that it is in the coat of arms of the South African government and also the Sudanese government. And I think it's one of the most admired birds in terms of distribution in Africa. Despite them being seen all the way walking during the day, they prefer, they'll be walking in the long grasses, but then during the night they roost on their respective trees, where they always pair. You find a pair, and they always occupy a very big territory and also walk a long distance away from their roosting trees. They have a unique way of taking off. As they're flying, they have to run and then take off, just like how aeroplanes take off from the ground. Yes, got something there. A grass rat again. Rocky Balboa, thank you so much for your question. Yes, these birds fly, but because they depend on terrestrial prey like snakes, lizards, grasshoppers, and grass rats, so you always encounter them walking on the ground. But during the evening, when they're returning back to their roosting trees, they always fly. So yes, they fly. Look at how fast she's walking there. It seems like she has lots of ground cover to roam. So I'm going to get a good position for you to see this bird, as I think it's very active on a hunting mode. I'd like to see him go after a snake. So I'm just changing position. A secretary bird. about 5 minutes. Oh, she's got something again. Let's see what she's found. Oh, that was a dung beetle. Another dung beetle. So, with the wildebeest being here, they also provide food for other animals. The dung that they defecate on a daily basis. So these dung beetles utilize that because they help in disposal of dung. So these birds also get an advantage of eating those dung beetles. So in this ecosystem we have a food chain where everything is utilized. So we don't have more raptors, we don't have more dung, we don't have more dung beetles. So it's very, very well in balance. See, that walking style is how they flush off prey in the long grasses. So they stamp it, and whatever is close to their vicinity, they will run, and that will make them catch the prey, be it a snake, lizard, a grass rat. Anything that walks there will fall prey to this secretary bird.
Well, we have moved only a few hundred meters and everywhere is just wildebeest, with all their heads facing northwards. It looks like they are back. The sun has just broken, the clouds, and I'm sure they're loving it. It has been a chilly morning, and now there's a bit of movement. There's quite a good number of them moving. This is an animal born to move, born to migrate, constantly walking, running, trotting, always. They never stay in one spot for more than even 24 hours. They will stay in a place. After exhausting it, they will, continue on. There is a very beautiful line of them coming. I don't know if you see it above those ones there. It's coming from the other side, along with there. They're all coming down to join this herd here, and then maybe they'll continue with them further north. Yeah, these beautiful plains are usually even much more beautiful with these animals, and I was starting to get worried, but I was wrong. They're back, and this is such wonderful news. I don't know how far they will head north. That is something that I have to wait and see. You can see their nice beautiful white beard being reflected by the light. White-bearded canoe, that is their name. An animal that feeds everybody here in the plains, from lion, crocodile in the Mara River, hyenas, leopards, cheetahs, jackals, vultures. They do feed everybody. I don't know if you can hear them calling back to the left. That is their call. Usually we say it's a discussion amongst them, talking about which direction to go. Yeah, definitely here. They've just arrived. You can see here there's much more movement than where I was earlier. So here they're trying to make way to the deeper side where there's longer grass and where they can stick maybe longer. But here I can tell, there's very, very many females with the youngsters. During migration, we do have what we call the head, the body, and the tail. And the head usually is the first few. The body is usually a combination of females, youngsters, and males, and that they amount to around 500 to 700,000. Then the tail is very minimal, and it's just a trickle. And looks like over here when I see the youngsters, it tells me it's the body. I don't know how far they stretch to my right and left, but I will see that in the next coming days. Let's see what else we have on another safari vehicle.
Welcome back to andBeyond Phinda. It seems like all three cheetah have filled their bellies for now, and they've all moved away from the carcass. I see Mom there sitting up. There's just a bit of a stronger gust of wind that's blown, and she sat up from her resting spot, where she was lying in the relative shade of that clump of grass. And she's just looking around her now, keeping an eye out for any danger, as usual. There's the little cubs moving to her left, to the long grass, looking for some shade, and then flopping down. Look at how heavily Mom is breathing. Have a look at her sides. And you see how her chest is heaving. And then also have a look at how, where her body disappears into the grass, how wide and bulged it is there. An indication of how much meat she's eaten off of this impala. So it seems like her cubs' bellies are full, her belly is pretty full. So she's just taking a bit of time out for now. But I wonder if now she keeps looking at the carcass, I wonder if she might not get up and go back to feed. She doesn't look like she's fit to burst just yet. Here we go, she's moving around. Oh no, just looking for a better spot to lie down. Look at her cub just to the left of her. A little bit behind her, lying in the long grass. Merrick, who's aged 8, you're wondering how long it takes a cheetah to eat a whole impala. Merrick, I think in the case of this impala, I don't think that these three cheetah are going to be able to finish the whole impala. And they've already been eating for at least, it must be an hour and 15 minutes or so, maybe even a bit longer. So I think that maybe if there were two big males here, or maybe three adult cheetah, and they were feeding on this impala, that it might already be finished by now. Merrick, a couple of months ago, we filmed a mother cheetah and her two cubs we watched them kill a grey duiker, and then we were busy, we basically watched them from start to finish, and we timed it, Merrick, and it was about an hour and 15 minutes that it took for them to finish. So have a look there. There's the carcass. See, Merrick, it's not quite finished just yet. There's still a lot of organs, a lot of guts and stuff. But those cheetah are not going to eat those. Not going to eat those organs. But see how there's a bit of meat there still. And look at the dung beetle that's sitting on top of the impala there. I'm just going to pick up my binoculars to see what it's doing. Oh, there's a whole bunch of dung beetles in there, and they're all busy trying to tunnel into that big grey mass that's on the left of your screen. That's the stomach, the rumen. See how it's swelling and starting to, they're quite swollen from all the gaseous build-up. All the gas build-up in the stomach there. Fermentation that's going on inside there. And that's what these dung beetles are after. And there's even more flying in now. I was just saying to Gert, it feels like we're parked at an airport or something, underneath a busy airport, where there's constant air traffic flying overhead with all these dung beetles that have been flying overhead, following the scent of the contents of the stomach of this impala. And there's so many of them. We've actually been able to see every now and then through the long grass. We've been able to see them crawling around on the ground as well. And it's been even a bit disconcerting for the cheetah, it seems. Shame the little female cub she came back to the carcass a few moments ago to try and feed. And it was like, you know, when you're walking in the sea and you stand on something and you can't see what it was and it wiggles and then you jump up in the air and you get a fright. That's what she did. She was walking and then it was like her feet suddenly got swarmed by dung beetles or something, because she suddenly jumped up in the air and then moved away. Of course, when she got a fright, her mom and her sibling got a fright too, and everyone ended up getting a big fright. But see how now the flies are also starting to move in there slowly? Some big blowflies that are moving in. Lincoln, you're wondering if cheetah moms will always let the cubs eat first. Lincoln, it's tough to say if it's on purpose that they're letting the cubs eat first, or if it's just a result of them having exerted themselves in the hunt and that they're not quite ready to eat yet. So Lincoln, typically when you watch a mother cheetah hunt, she'll obviously do the chasing and then catch the animal and then do most of the killing. Obviously as the cubs get older and older, they'll start to play more and more of a role in at first the killing and then maybe later on the hunt as well. But then mom will kind of, once she's actually killed the impala, remember she's run at high speed, which has used up obviously energy in her muscles, and it's obviously caused her to exert herself. And then she's had to sit there strangling this impala, holding it by its throat, which has also then taken up energy. And then once the impala's dead, then she'll kind of sit back and pant and breathe heavily for a bit, trying to cool down for a bit and recover for a little bit after she's actually made the kill. And while she's doing that, Lincoln, then typically the cubs will move in and they'll start to help themselves. When they're a bit younger, they'll need mom to help them a little bit they might need mom to help them a little bit in terms of opening the carcass. But now these cubs would have just gotten stuck in immediately. They would have started to feed. But then as soon as she's recovered, Lincoln, then she'll also start feeding too. So it's tough to say if it's on purpose that she's purposely letting them start to eat first, or if it's just that she's not yet ready to eat.
Dr. Simba. Okay. Hello, look at this. Look at what we just found. A female Egyptian geese and her little ducklings having a very good time in this small little watery spot. Looks like they're bouncing around in the waves. They're on free mode and just bouncing around. This could be the female, and she's really taking care of them. We have seen very many of these goslings this year, and it's really remarkable to see how many there are, and to see them this many is just something. It looks like they're being taught to eat on that sage grass. They're really attacking it, and also the grass. Usually there's two adults, but here I just see one. I don't know for what reason, but they're always in twos. So I don't know if the other one is somewhere else. He's also teaching them, how to dive down and dig for worms. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. They're still too small. Yeah, a little bit of a drink. Egyptian geese is a medium-sized, duck or geese, if you like to put it, and they have been found in many Egyptian drawings, and that's why I think the name came from. And they're very widespread here in Kenya, also in East Africa. You can never go in a water body without seeing them. It looks like they are disembarking and getting out. It would be nice to see them just walk out there, but it looks like they're very, very new. Is it Dizzy? Jumbo, did you ask if they're dazzling or goslings? Was that right? They're goslings, if that was the question. And over there on top, I have a spowing plover. I have a, spowing plover. Looks like it's also happy to be around the geese. I'm sure he's quite safe. He knows that if something came, it will never go for him. It will go for the geese. At this stage, they're very vulnerable to, monitor lizards. Sassy Cassie, Jumbo, did you ask how many they hatch? It wasn't quite clear for me, but it depends on the number of eggs. They're usually very, very successful, and I've always seen... Oh, how old are the goslings? These ones, I would give them a week. They are very, very small. You haven't developed any wings. I would give them a week. They are very, very, very young. But they grow very, very fast. At around 2 months, they'll be almost have all the coloration of the adult, and also they could be flying even at 3 months. So they grow very, very fast. What else do we have, Bungay, in this water body? It's such a beautiful water. Oh, there is the other adult. I think, he just came in and is having a much wanted drink. Yeah, I think it flew from a very long way. Well, I'm going to let you look at him as he reunites with the rest of the family as we take you to another live safari vehicle.
Thanks, Isaac, and welcome back to Djuma, everybody. Welcome to the Dung Beetle Activity Day. And this dung beetle has found himself, or herself, I think it's him, a nice pile of fresh buffalo dung. And is now busy making it into the perfect size ball so as to be able to then meet a lady and then lay an egg inside. Obviously the female will lay the egg. But the dung beetles will build these balls dependent on the species. So a dung beetle of that size will build a pretty big ball. We'll see him develop it. He's obviously started with a small one so far. Now he's moved over to a second pile of fresh dung. He's got those paddle-like feet appendages in the front. He's paddling it down to create the ball and make it even bigger. He's going to just keep turning it and turning it and turning it. It's like taking clay and just adding another layer, another layer, another layer. It is solid all the way through, and male and female will create dung balls, as far as I'm aware, but only a few of them are what we call brood balls. Many of them are actually food, which they use for eating, and then others, the female will meet a male who's made a magnificent ball, and then she'll lay an egg. Only one egg deep inside of the ball, which will hatch, forming a dung beetle larvae, which will grow to its entirety inside the ball, actually going from a larvae or a grub, going into metamorphosis stage, where it goes into a cocoon, and it almost looks like it's been mummified. Dung beetles have held huge sort of historical or cultural sort of significance in Egyptian culture because of the rebirth. And when you do open up a dung ball that hasn't yet hatched on its own, you can often find something inside that looks like a mummified sort of organism. It looks very, very different from the dung beetle and very different from the larvae. So they hold the scarab beetle in very high repute. And then they will bury it. Very different types, a couple different types. This, I believe, is going to be a telecoprid. He's going to move it away. He's actually going to roll it away from the ball or from the pile and bury it in a very specific spot in the ground. So very important for organic recycling and for eliminating flies. This type of dung beetle will take it away. You also get the paracoprids, which will go straight down underneath the pile. And if you look just to the left there, you see that sediment that's been lifted up. That little, that right there, that is where one has gone directly under the ground and buried one. And then you get endocoprids, which actually live inside of dung balls themselves, or should I say inside of middens. And they'll live inside the dung, and those guys will actually stay the entire year. They can actually be there all season, all year round, whereas these guys are very seasonal. They would have hatched with the rains. The rains would have sort of stimulated and moistened the ground and buried under the ground in their dung ball. They would have come to full adulthood within the dung ball itself. So from egg to larvae to pupa to full adult inside the ball. And that is why some balls are bigger than others, because it needs to sustain that dung beetle for its entire life until reaching this stage. And then when they reach adulthood and they come out like this, they're very busy and they deal with enormous amounts of dung, burying it, pushing it under the ground. You see how busy he is with his front paddles and his shovel-like nose. Once he finds a suitable spot, he pushes, there we go, he's going to move away now. I think he's still busy. It needs to grow quite a bit bigger. A dung beetle of that size would have to be bigger than himself, if you can imagine. He needs to lay an egg inside that will reach full adulthood. Very, very powerful. If you take one of these guys and put them inside your hand, they actually push themselves out your hand. Very, very strong. Oh. He's going already. Gemma, you want to know if they add a liquid to the dung? They don't actually. The dung is fresh. The dung is fresh. They're not able to deal with dry dung. And he's actually probably going to go to this second pile of dung over here, or he's going to bury it. Let's have a look. Let's have a look. Look how fast he moves. Very, very fast. That's incredible, isn't it? Look at all the flies buzzing around the dung. They're all trying to lay their eggs on there as well. So the dung beetle, by covering it in sediment like this and burying it, actually provides a very important ecological function. Now, he knows exactly which direction he's going in because he orientates with the sun. They use the stars and the moon as well to orientate. And he wants to take it in a straight line away from the source of food. And it's very likely that this is just going to be a food ball that he's going to bury for eating rather than an actual brood ball. Because you'd think a dung beetle of his size, he'd make that a little bit bigger. But maybe he's going to the next sloppy pile of dung. That's right, coming up about now. Or maybe he's got a plan. He seems to have a plan. He's a very busy boy, isn't he? So if anything obstructs him or stops his direction, he will go around the obstacle and then jump on top of the ball, do a 360-degree look. There we go. There's the look. And then he goes again in the exact same orientation he was before. Now, we know this because scientists have done tests. You can use mirrors, you can use lights, and you can change the angle of the mirror and the lights, and he will follow you. You actually can make him move in a circle if you change. So here we go, looking again. If you change the direction of the light, he will actually move in relation to where the light is. Obviously, naturally, the light's not going to change its position. It's not going to change its position. He knows exactly where he's going. It seems up over the road, and he's probably going to find a nice little spot there to bury his poo.
Beautiful dung beetles, always something very nice to see this time of the year. And you all have them fly around, feed on this poop of an animal. Here we come across this beautiful rank of impalas, also doing the same, feeding, and they don't look alert at all. And they're so peaceful getting around here, and all they do is just to move. Now they're trying to move into a slightly covered area, and this is when they're tired of taking grass all the time, and then now they have to also go to browse a little bit into the bush. And as they are a mixed feeder, they don't have a problem with feeding on any type of wood out here. So any trees, any type of grasses is what they want. And as the sun now is picking up slightly, the temperature rise, and it's best time that they will probably focus on going down to a water hole just before very hot, or they already drink, and all they do, they're just going to have to look for a shade to rest. Some will go down and lie down and chew their cud. You know, these are the type of animal that they are ruminate. So different to warthogs, different to rhinos and zebras. Those are the single chamber stomach. They don't chew cud, but these are ruminant animals, and most antelope have the system of a 4-chambered stomach, which allows them to feed as much as they can, but they cannot continuously all day long without chewing cud, because the process of feeding it's limited for them. Somehow the cud that they swallow every time is a new shoot or grasses into their tummy, and of course somehow it comes to in a way that it's full and they have to stop feeding, and all they do, they have to go down or stand, regurgitate and chew again and again and over again. And that is how the stomach will come slightly empty, or half of empty, or quarter of empty. Tammy, I agree with you. Good morning and welcome to this show. And yeah, you're right, they're so beautiful, and when you look at them you would think they've been oiled, or somehow their skin is very shiny. And of course this is how they are. Most animal, has a unique way of keeping themselves clean. You know, for them to able to clean themselves, they do groom, but it's not actually to get dust off their coat, not at all. And they can shiver, or they can shake their body if there is a dusty on them. But this antelope, they're not actually antelope that they'll roll in the ground at all. So, and they don't actually go down to water to take a swim, like what you see on an elephant. So of course, indeed, they're so beautiful how they, getting clean. So I'm going to move forward the process. We were looking around here for a possible of elephants or zebra. So I'm going to take you to another live station.
Welcome back to andBeyond, Phinda. Have a look at this mother cheetah and what she's doing. She's just got up out of the long grass and she's now vigorously covering that carcass. Have a look between her front and back legs. That is where the carcass is, and for all intents and purposes it's basically invisible. She's been meticulously using her front paws to scratch the grass over the carcass to keep it concealed. Look at the cub now, shame. It's pulling the grass off of the carcass because it still wants to eat. Like, Mom, what did you do that for? I was still hungry. And now you've put this grass in my food. Look, I was staring at Mom, giving her the look. It's a shame. Mom got up because she thought, okay, neither of the two cubs are feeding. So she got up and she went to go and cover the carcass. But as soon as she got up, it's like the cubs suddenly decided, oh no, we're still a little bit hungry. We've still got room for a bit more. And they got up and now they have found their lovely, juicy Impala to be covered with dry grass. So it looks like the little female on the left there is trying to scratch the grass off of the carcass so that she can get to some of the tasty meat that's still left. Looks like her sibling there on the other side has already found a bit. And look at how it's busy chewing there, busy feeding. I wonder if it's because that now that the day is getting a little bit hotter, the wind is blowing quite strongly, she'll know that birds of prey like vultures will be flying around more now. Anna Marie, you're asking if the cheetah will crack open or feed on any of the bones, especially the smaller bones in the carcass. Anna Marie, they'll feed on the really thin, smaller bones and the cartilage around them. So often on things like the softer parts of the ribs, they might crunch through those. But they don't really have the jaw strength to feed on any of the thicker, tougher bones. So they'll normally just leave the bones. But yeah, some of the thinner ones they might crunch through. Cartilage, like I said, I don't know if you're just able to hear that buzzing sound. That was a dung beetle that just came and buzzed around the camera on its way down to the carcass. Oh, look at that cub, how she's now, look at that, she's found a bit of meat on the haunch of that Impala and she's now trying to pull it off. Shame, look at that, she's still too little to be strong enough to be able to pull that whole Impala by herself. But remember I was saying earlier how these cheetah, they might feed for a bit and think that they're full, go and lie down, and then decide they've got a bit more room and come back and feed again. Arkwind, you're asking if dung beetles are common visitors to carcasses. Arkwind, these specific dung beetle species, they feed on dung of herbivores, and so they won't actually feed on the carcass, but it's the stomach contents, like I was saying, that they're after. And then yes, if there's a dead herbivore that has had its stomach or its intestines ripped open, and that smell is getting out into the air, then yes, dung beetles will come and visit the carcass. There are some kinds of beetles that are quite similar to dung beetles called carrion beetles, and they will often come and feed on the actual rotting meat of the carcass. But yes, if on a hot day like today in summer, when there's a strong breeze blowing, and if there's lots of dung beetles around, and they smell the stomach contents of an animal, a herbivore, then they'll definitely come and investigate. But now look at how these cubs are feeding again quite vigorously, especially that slightly bigger cub on the right. And haven't yet had a chance to really get a look at that youngster on the right to see if it is male or female. It's still quite young. So I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that the one that just got up and moved is a little female. And so I wonder if, because this one is so much bigger, if it's not also a little male. So that'll make the 3 mother cheetah here that each have 2 cubs. It'll mean that all 3 mothers have got one male, 1 female youngster, if this little one that's still feeding is also a male. Look at how he's using those back teeth of his to cut through the carcass and then giving a bit of a head flick every now and then, just to help him get a bit more leverage, a bit more purchase on that Impala. Looks like he's feeding around the shoulder area, and that was a part of the carcass that hadn't been opened just yet. So he's now having to do all that work himself to open it up. This shows how even at this young age, their teeth are, like I was saying earlier, already well equipped for making short work of the hide and the flesh of an Impala. Like I was saying earlier, they're also in quite an open area, not too much shade around them. See how that mother cheetah earlier was lying in, you can't really call it shade, it's basically just a little clump of grass. that she's lying in. And so I think once the sun gets overhead and gets a bit more intense and it gets a bit hotter, she'll probably take her youngsters into a thicket nearby to get some proper shade to rest in. But just her covering it with grass now will mean that it will be a bit safer. Tammy, you're asking a very interesting question. You're asking if this mother cheetah is an old mother or a younger mother. Tammy, she's her first-time mother. She's still pretty young. She was born late in 2017, so she's only about 3 years old. And yeah, like I said, this is her first litter of cubs. She gave birth to 4, and unfortunately only 2 have survived thus far. And it's quite common for cheetah, and that's why they typically tend to have more cubs in a litter than other big cats, because of the high mortality rate of the cubs. But I think 2 out of 4 so far, she hasn't been doing too bad of a job. Tammy, also quite special personally for me. I think I've said it before, but when I first started at Phinda, this mother cheetah was a cub herself, and still with her mother and her 2 siblings. So super special to be able to see her now, that she's an adult and that she's now having cubs of her own. And also fantastic that she's been able to survive from being a cub through that stage of when their mother left them and she and her siblings had to make their own way in the world, and then to watch the siblings split up. She had a brother and a sister. Her brother is still alive and well. He's a dominant male in the north of the reserve. Unfortunately, her sister was killed by a lion. But so far, she has done very well. She's got her first litter, at least half of her first litter, to this crucial stage now where they're going to start learning how to hunt. And hopefully both of these youngsters make it to adulthood. Oh, and it's going to be, again, like I said with those youngsters that we saw yesterday, those ones obviously a bit older than these ones, coming into the Impala lambing season soon, so there's going to be lots of hunting training, if you will, that's going to be going on with the 3 mother cheetah and their respective litters of cubs as they take advantage of the abundance of young Impala lambs to use as hunting practice for their little ones. As horrible and gruesome as that sounds. And of course, that's why the Impala all give birth almost simultaneously, at least have their babies all together at the same time, so that it increases the chances of as many as possible surviving, or minimizes the chances of an individual Impala's lamb being taken. But what a wonderful morning it's been out here with this mother cheetah and her 2 youngsters. I think with them lying down and basically having finished feeding for now, I think Gert and I are going to leave them, and we're going to keep making our way through the plains slowly in the direction of the lodge, and we'll see what else we can find on our way back for you.
I'm very blessed to see cheetah, everybody. I haven't seen a cheetah in, it must be about a year. I don't know how long it's been. It was about this time last year, I think. Very, very nice. Well, obviously, everybody, when you noticed us with the dung beetle earlier, you realized that we weren't with Kalamba anymore. She moved and moved and moved, and last we saw her, she was chasing a duiker, and we never saw her again. So some hyenas arrived on the scene. We tried to follow them for a little bit. Impalas are going crazy. We started thinking maybe wild dogs were in the area, but no one found wild dogs or Kalamba again. So we did try quite a bit to try to figure out where she got to. So now what we're doing is we're going back into the area that we had Tandy last night. We've just investigated where she last had her cub. That whole herd of buffalo moved through there yesterday morning. So no sign of the cub at the moment. So we'll just check where we last left her. And maybe she caught something. She was very keen last night to catch some food. Very good chance that she probably did. So it is definitely heating up. is going to be an absolute sweltering day.
While it's heating up down there, we are still experiencing a chilly morning here in the Mara. Here at the Mara River, we only see about one crocodile that is out in the water. But I'm sure when it's warming up, then most of the crocodiles come up for some sun. That's the Nile crocodile. We are at the main crossing, Mara River main crossing, where most of wildebeest, zebra, topi, Thompson gazelle use and utilize these pathways to cross to either side of the river within this Mara Park. You can see how the water is turning brown. Seems like it's been raining upstream, but not that much because the water level is still low. Sometimes this crocodile can stay for long without eating, but during the migration time they get an advantage of whatever has been utilizing this river to cross. Or if there's no food, sometimes they'll take on to hibernate. They're known to even go for about more than a year without eating. So you can imagine how the metabolism is slowed when there's no food. We're almost coming to the time when these crocodiles will be laying their eggs on the riverbank. So around November, we find most of them out of the water, especially the big females, and they'll, day in, day out, they'll be guarding the nest of where those eggs are deposited. The reason why they'll guard the nest is because we have predators that will prey on their eggs, especially the monitor lizard, baboons will come to steal the eggs. That seems like a big... Nature lover, thank you for your question. Crocodile will lay their eggs on the side of the bank, on the river bank. So they walk out of the river, could find a suitable place where they'll dig and deposit their eggs and then cover. So most often you find that they'll walk out of the river in a suitable place. Sometimes just next to the bank where it's easy access for them to walk back and forth, especially when there's the predators around, so it's easy for them to walk. Like I would say maybe sometime on the edges there where you see a bit of some erosion, they can lay their eggs there. Nice breeze. You actually can't tell if that's a croc. Like the way they blend in with this environment. Sometimes they can also fall to an advantage when animals are coming to drink, because they'll sunbathe at the very path that this wildlife come to drink water. And most of these paths are created by hippos who walk out of the water back and forth in the evening and coming back in the morning from a night of grazing. So those herds that I saw, the wildebeest heading Elisa, thank you so much for your question. The only difference of the sexual dimorphism of crocodiles is the size. Males tend to be bigger than females. They have bigger body size than the females. So that is one of the conspicuous things that you look when you're watching crocodiles. But the look of wildebeest, the one that I just saw about 20 minutes ago, they look like they'll be heading to the river, but they're since far from here. I'm expecting maybe in the afternoon they'll be coming for a drink. But because it rained last night, so there's still moisture and water in the grass. So before they get here, it will be maybe another 2-3 hours. Barney, thank you for your question. The water being low sometimes can fall to a disadvantage to the crocodiles, but on this riverbed there are some places where it's a little bit deep, so the water can be collected there, so they'll still take an advantage because the wildebeest will choose a path where it's not as rocky, and these crocodiles have an advantage of getting to where at least they're crossing. So it's not likely that they will have a disadvantage when the water is low. I will head off to find something else as I take you over to another live location.
Welcome back to another pile of poo, everybody. And this pile of dung is far larger and far darker. Well, not really darker, but far bigger than the previous one. You see how many dung beetles there are. They are going crazy. I don't know if you can see all of the little insects flying over here, but this is the dung of a white rhino. The coloration is very dark. If I grab some of this, you'll see the sticks, or should I say the grass stalks that are there. It's all grass stalks. But the top is drying out, but inside is still wet. You can see where this dung beetle is over here. He's busy making a very nice little ball there. Elephant dung this time of year is also highly favoured by dung beetles because it's predominantly grass. A lot of grass when they're feeding on it as the winter months sort of roll around. Not only are the dung beetles less active, but the elephant dung is full of sticks and bark and stuff that's not very easily paddled down. You see this guy's busy paddling it down there with his feet. And there are many, many dung beetles in here. If I had to just turn this like that, you'll see the difference in the moisture content. Very, very wet inside. The outside is obviously drying from the sun. So they only really process fresh dung. As the dung gets older and drier, it invariably has been found already, but as it gets old and dry, it then sort of solidifies and it remains on the surface, and then gets dealt with by termites. But you can find many, many different species of dung beetle in a pile like this, and many birds will also come and scratch around in here because of the little larvae. Many fly larvae and insect larvae will actually be laid or eggs laid in here, and they'll come and scratch it out. Dung beetles obviously process a lot of the dung, but many organisms will feed on it, many other small little insects. And then many birds, such as francolin, will scratch here for seeds, for insect larvae. Guinea fowl love to follow animals around, especially elephant, and scratch through and feed on the fermenting vegetation that's happening right over here. It's not necessarily that they're looking for the seeds. It might be the seeds. It might also be the larvae, but they actually eat the fermenting vegetation that comes out of the elephant's bottom. And I can't per se say I've seen too much of guinea fowl feeding on rhino dung, but I'm certain they must be able to feed it on as well, because it's a very similar fermentation process. But a smorgasbord of activity going on. You can see the dung is alive. There's little wasp species flying around here. No. Okay, cool, I can't. The only way I think to distinguish between the male and female is when there's a big ball being rolled away. The female's often holding on and the male's pushing. That's the only way I can tell. But as far as I'm aware, they're very, very similar. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. But you can see here there's pretty much one species that we can see. But there's over 700 species in South Africa, about 7,000 in the world. So these guys over here having a little fight. There's plenty of food to go around, but they fight over it sometimes, which is quite something to behold. And what always amazes me, how quickly they can find this. They're organisms and mites, sort of very small organisms on their body, which assist them in the smelling of the dung. And it guides them towards it. And obviously, majority of the dung beetles we find in these areas have wings, so they're able to fly. Down at Addo Elephant National Park, dung beetle looks quite similar to this, but it's the Addo flightless dung beetle. They don't have wings at all. They've given it up completely, and all they do is walk around. But they look quite similar to these guys, quite dark in colour. This guy over here looks like he's late to the party. There we go. I want that ball. Quite amazing, isn't it? So they'll make these balls and then roll them away, because this is the area of food. So they'll roll it with, I said before, that angle, that direction that they use. There we go. They're going to fight. And they'll fight for it. And once it's away, they bury it. And obviously, that's why they want an orientation, a straight line, because they want to get as much of this away from here as possible, and bury as much of it as possible. Often 3, 4, 5, 6 decent-sized balls inside a hole nearby. So very, very important for the ecosystem, very, very important ecologically. And this time of year is always so exciting to find these guys doing their thing, and you can sit around and all sorts of things are going on. So we might spend another moment or two and just see what other activity transpires.
Beautiful dung beetles again. Here we come across beautiful yellowbird moving around, hovering around in these marula trees. This time of year it's so important for most birds, but this unique, beautiful yellowbird, it's our black-headed oriole. It's very hard to film that because they don't stick around. They're busy doing their thing. Early morning feed for them to feed on these worms. You know, once the green take place, it's a lot of worms, caterpillar worms take place. And of course, before they change to a moth or butterflies. And this is what these birds, most of the time, they're after. And they are day feeder. But the beautiful call, you may hear it now, makes such a beautiful call. And it won't stick around for us. You hear that? Yeah, you hear that? So there's this kind of a contact call between one another. There was another one calling from the further distance. Indeed, yeah, it was a little louder. You know, it's kind of a morning like this, wind picking up, but it's going finally. So marula trees, that's where right there is another one. Looks like it was just, like we say, it's not actually very easy because they hover around and they just hop from branches to branches. And in marula trees particularly, where nowadays these kind of trees are all just gonna, leaves shoots up and they're all just gonna be beautiful. And then of course around in November there will be a lot of fruits hanging, fruits but unripe until they are February there. That's where you'll see a lot of elephants going and crazy around, uncontrollable. When they have to think of these trees, they even know which trees are sweet enough for these fruits that are dropped down for them to be able to pick that up. And marula trees is one of the famous trees that are well known throughout Africa. It's all, drink alcohol out of it. can make fruit jam out of it. So some they can crota fruit. It's beautiful. So they stick all year round here. Most of the time there's orioles, and they are what you can hear them from a distance, and that you know for sure. They don't make. They have like 3 different calls, I think, or 4, but this is the regular call we can hear right now. It's all about, communications between one another, and of course, you do see 1 or 2 together. This is when the male and the female together, but otherwise you see one. All he does hear the sound when they're calling for communications. Still hear sound in the background there, so it'll be a time where there's a lot of birds all going crazy looking for these caterpillar worms that feed on these leaves that already shoots in these trees as a beneficial for most other worms. And then of course this is where a lot of bird species, even migration bird, they will arrive, looking for such a food which is going to be available for those birds. I'm going to link you to another safari life while we're still checking around for more animal.
Welcome back to the Mara. We've come across a small herd of buffalo where they seem like they're grazing slowly on this elephant grass. But because it's rained yesterday, this grass is normally super hard. But because of water and moisture that is in this grass, so they're easily grazing on this grass. A little bit of scratch there. What's happening, boys? You can see he was licking on this other one's skin. So sometimes because of they lack minerals, and they don't always walk long distance to where the salt mineral deposits are, you see them licking on each other's side for that mud that is on their backs. Seems like he's just come from a mud wallow. Very nosy oxpecker on his back there. So these bachelor bulls hang around a very small territory, rather home range, where they can walk to water and good grazing ground. They've lost fur on their skin, so that's the reason why they've mud wallowed. And oftentimes you find that the big buffalo herds, the breeding herds, will walk into these home ranges where sometimes the bulls will be challenged by these bachelors. See how slowly they're walking. That tells you these are old bulls. Donovan, thank you for your question. I'll always say the number fluctuates depending on social or environmental factors. Sometimes during the rains, during the drought, the numbers increase. You find herds of even 200, 300. But the minimum number you find sometimes up to 40, 30. That is actually a minimum number. But of this particular herd, I can see they're about maybe 8 or 10. Yeah, sometimes you find 2 or even a loner. But the strength in numbers. So the more they are the more they are in a herd, it determines the security. So the reason why they're left out is how they slowly walk. Because when these buffaloes go, they're going for water, they carry on long distances. And during the droughts, they have to travel sometimes even travel a day. So this cannot actually go that long for water. We've had a very good morning today. We've had rhinos, we have lion, leopard. It was a very interesting morning. So thank you so much for your questions. Thank you so much for your comments. We'll be looking forward to hear your questions and comments this afternoon as we come again in the African wilderness. Please join us again this afternoon at 1600 hours at East African time, 1500 hours Central African time, where we'll be back again here in this wilderness, ready to show you what unfolds unexpected. So looking forward to see lions and leopards and cheetahs again. So from our end, I say bye-bye and see you later.
Hi, my name is Taylor McCurdy and I'm coming to you from Eco Training here on Pridelands.